Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. We're here at Warm Studios in Austin, Texas. So follow me, we're going to go and meet Mr. Bryce Young. Walk this way. Joe, don't you always win?
He just beat me at thumb wrestling. It's not fair, he's too strong.
Bryce, how are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for coming.
Fantastic, thank you. And Joe, look at that.
I'm here.
Thumb wrestler.
Loser. I'm the thumb wrestling loser. Yeah. But that's okay. But now I owe you what? What did I?
For me winning?
Yeah.
$3.5 million.
Back massage, maybe?
Okay, I can do that. I can do that.
Things are getting weird. I'm leaving. Yeah. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming out. It's been awesome. This master class Joe's been running.
We've been here the last 3 days. We did tracking for 2 days. We mixed yesterday. We had 25 people from as far away as Alaska. It was awesome.
Wow.
We had a great time. Great band. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I came in and they were all doing this, and I'm like, no, not that kind of master. Like, no.
I think that's when you came in, and he must have been in the room.
No, it's all about Joe. It's all about Joe. So tell us a little bit about the studio. When did you build this?
We just built it last few years, and we opened it March of last year. So we've been open a little under a year and a half now. But
fantastic.
It's been fun. Yeah.
What's in this room here?
So this is our B room. Come on in.
I haven't even been in here yet.
Really? Yeah. So the small secondary studio, but it's still a real nice space. Lots of angled walls. And
wonderful. Yeah, you could do a
diffusion and all kinds of stuff.
16 mic inputs on the panel. Nice.
Yeah.
Drum kit, vocals, guitar overdubs. God bless it.
I like the color scheme. I like the color of that wood with the blue and the gray fabric. It looks great.
This is the little trapdoor area we stuff Joe in if we get tired of him.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So SSL AWS 948 console. So you've got the DAW control, but also full flying faders in the analog mode as well. And it's cool because it's got the 24-channel imprint, but it's a 48 I/O console. And we've actually used all 48 channels, not in this room, in the A room on the session. I couldn't believe it. I think it was 47.
Yeah.
Just a big band and everything. So we've used the channels. Yeah.
You got a lot of this warm gear as well.
Yeah.
You know about
surprise.
this stuff?
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Amazing.
Let's see how accurate it is, though. Oh, yeah, I could toast a marshmallow over that. Just kidding.
Wonderful. We've actually got one of these. I'm not sure if the demo is about to come out before this video or the other way around, but we've been demoing it, and you have as well, haven't you?
I do have a single channel one, and I've really found a home for it on a few different things.
Cool.
A few different things, yeah.
It actually sounds great on my vocal, which is unusual because I'm not a very good singer. So that's a good start.
It's got some auto-tune built in there.
Yeah, one would hope.
Yeah.
Well, definitely need it. So ATCs?
Yeah, ATCs. The studio designer, Alex Otto, he's out of Arizona. He loves ATCs. He's like, you got to get ATCs. And I got to say, I love them too. They sound really good.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we've got ATCs in here. I think these are the 50s, and then we've got the 200s in the A room.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, it sounds good in here. Sounds really good.
Yeah, for being a small room, right? It's hard to get small rooms to sound good. What are you looking at? The Lynx?
I see, yeah. That's top-notch conversion right there.
Yeah, Lynx converters. They sound really good. Everybody seems to really like them.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been great with support and everything whenever we call.
I had a pair of Lynx in a room in LA for a long time. And they're just that little, they're the right side of affordable. Bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those, yeah.
Yeah, so you got...
This, I've never seen this. Tell me about this. Have you seen this?
So that is a reverb unit. I actually just saw that on the website Reverb. I bought the reverb unit, and it's tube-based. So it's got vacuum tubes in it, and it's stereo. And I was like, let's check this thing out. But one of our clients says he uses it on every session.
Vermona, I've never heard of it.
I haven't either. That is really, I would love to come in here and run some signal through it and just see what that's all about. I've never...
Yeah.
I'm assuming you can drive it hard. Got
it's, doing your punk rock, just gets all kinds of crazy spring reverb going on.
Nice.
If anybody from Vermona is watching, my address is 123.
Yeah, so all the rooms are concrete slab floor. So I'm sure we've all been in studios where they have the wood floors with the hollow cavities, and it sounds
with the resonation.
like So it's concrete, but it's poured on rubber. So you got 2 inches of rubber underneath the concrete, and then each room is isolated on its own piece of rubber. And obviously, the room within a room theory.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I see you've got 2 foot switches, one to turn the sub on and off, and also one for talkback, which is great.
yeah.
Down here. Yeah, nice touch.
Yeah, so these Genelecs have a subwoofer that's sitting somewhere back here.
Great.
We also have a subwoofer for these ATCs, even though we don't need it. So people like subs. So why not have it?
For some genres, it's a necessary evil, isn't it? I don't know those little worms down here, the AA12. Tell me about those.
Yeah, so that was our very first mic pre. When it originally came out, it was in an orange color. It's based on the
That's why I remember. I remember the orange ones. You couldn't miss them in studios. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I remember,
Super sexy orange, right?
Yeah.
And they've got, Cinemag transformers, 312 circuit. They sound great. 70 dB a gain. These are probably actually one of our most what's the right word for it? Underrated products. A lot of people just haven't tried it and know about it. And so
what do they retail at?
They're $499 retail.
Oh, nice. Great.
We actually did a promo last month where you buy 2 of our microphone models and you get that for free just because we wanted more people to try it. And it was smashing promo. So
that's a great idea.
I got to tell you that and there's a version of that with more bells and whistles, but it's still that basic preamp, right? The Tone Beast.
Yeah.
The Tone Beast is the core of that, but with more bells and whistles with, you can switch op amps, you can switch transformers, you can go transformer-less on the output, various things, but it is very, it's just so wide-ranging of what you can do with that thing.
You've had a Tone Beast forever, too,
I've had a Tone Beast since, I
think it's like 2015 or something.
Yeah, I still got it.
This guy first called me when I was running the company by myself out of my house. I remember being in that home office talking to you, and I'm like, who is this guy? He's so happy all the time. How does he do it?
Drugs.
Yeah, of course.
The right balance.
Right, you got to find the right balance. It's all about
This is a really cool product, too, this Grace monitor controller. What I love about it is no audio signal is running through that. Everything is done down here in this device here. So everything connects to your patch bay, and you just select which speakers you want to use. But it's just a really well-designed product. Grace, I know, had those preamps back in like the 90s that everybody was
people love them,
hip about it. I didn't even know they made these, and then
no, I just pointed it out.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Oh, and you've got Trinoff in here as well.
Trinoff, you familiar?
I am very familiar. Our friend Stephen Slate rents a room from us in our studio, and he's been running Trinoff. He uses it on all of the speakers when he's doing the modeling.
You know what? I didn't want to like it because I'm all about analog. Let's be analog.
And it's expensive. Nobody wants to like something that's expensive.
Well, it was actually one of our engineers brought a Trinoff device in our A room, and he was like, it's DSP processing. It does room correction, and it's going to make the room sound even better. And I was like, dude, this room sounds so good. There's no way it's going to sound better. And I was like, okay, that really works. Like, it sounds good. You have to tweak. So you can't just say sweep the room and then make it flat. That doesn't work. You have to sweep the room and kind of build some bass back in. But once we did that, I love it. Like,
fantastic.
Those things are great.
I think Mark is a big fan, isn't he? Mark Daniel Nelson?
Yeah, he's been using it for years. I suppose dumb questions, because you probably get asked dumb questions by everybody.
Yeah, sure.
What's your biggest selling product?
If you take our 73 style preamps, combined all the different models, because we've got single channel with EQ, single channel without EQ, 2-channel, et cetera, that family does the best.
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly, though, one of our highest revenue products last year was this guy.
That does not surprise me at all.
That's our lowest margin product. From a business standpoint, we make the least amount of profit on this over anything else because we packed so much dollar amount into that. You've got Cinemag transformers, you got 4 tubes, and then you have a T4B, the Opto, made in Kentucky by Kenetech. But when we came out with it, we were like, we want it under $1,000. Let's do it anyways. We won't make a lot on it, but everybody loves it. So.
Amazing. Well, I've told you many times, I mean, I recommend the 1176 to everybody.
Oh.
So hopefully that sells well. Please tell me.
Yeah, no.
You're like, we never sell anything.
Yeah, these all these products do pretty well. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, an 1176, we talked about this before, component-wise, is not that expensive of a unit to build. So when you see, you know, new ones going for $2,000, it seems a little silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just an opinion.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
This was my first. I like to tell the story.
Yeah.
Of what led me.
That's why you called me.
Exactly. So I was renting space.
You didn't live in one of my videos. Try that out.
No, I was renting space down at Soundstage in Nashville at the time, and our A room had a Purple and a Uri, and you know, which are both amazing pieces. But in my little private suite, I didn't have a hardware 1176, but I had a vocal booth. I wanted that option. I was in Guitar Center one day Sam Ash by chance, and it was on sale because it was a holiday, like Memorial Day or something, whatever. And I was like, man, that looks like the real that. That looks just like it, but that's this price because we're conditioned. We've been around Neves our whole life and APIs and all these fantastic gear. We're kind of conditioned to expect a certain price point. Anyway, I thought, I'll give it a try. Why not? I brought it in and molted a vocal through this and also molted it through the other hardware units. And I was like, uh-oh, this is the real deal. I'm going to have to buy another one now. So that's actually how I ever first formed a relationship with him, was just cold testing one of these, and all of a sudden.
I think for professionals, that's the gateway drug.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody can fight over Neve stuff, and they always will. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you hear that and you go, oh, it sounds the same. Yeah. But it's 1/3 the price. That's your gateway drug.
Yeah, put it on a frequency analyzer. That almost performs better than than even old ones. Under like 20 dB of compression, it's flat down to like 15 hertz. David Gearin, the owner of Cinemag, helped make sure, tweak the design. He always wants to put his hands on any finished product that his transformers are in. And he was like, dude, we're flat down to 15 hertz. I was like, no way, send it to me. I was like, how did you do this? And obviously we replicated the vintage circuit, but he's good at kind of massaging things with his transformers and making sure things are
Now, you may not want to say, but just because I know that a lot of people out here, they're Rev A, Rev E, Rev F, people. Is there a specific one that it would be closest to, or you really
Rev D.
Rev D, okay, perfect. I'm sure that's.
And for an idiot like me, why Rev D?
I think when I decided to make one, I was like, well, what's one of the most popular models? That was before all the blue stripe hype.
Okay.
So it was like, blackface was kind of, the Rev D was sort of the one that people liked. Later, they removed the input transformer, I think on Rev E or F or something. So I was like, well, I definitely want transformers. We like that sound.
Yeah.
And that was just the version that I thought would do the best.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. Let's check out Studio A, because we've got more gear to talk about in there.
Let's do it.
Wow. Well, obviously considerably bigger.
Yep. Got some space in here, that's for sure. Yeah.
I suppose I've got to ask you, are you contemplating going into the DBX world, into the 160s and stuff?
We could do that. I'm kind of at this crossroads where I'm like, we've made a lot of vintage recreations. Do we just keep doing more of them, or do we move in a different direction? So I'm as a company trying to decide. But I think if we continue to do recreations, we'll slowly check them all off the list at one point. I've definitely seen those and have interest in doing those.
Yeah, just because I'm looking around here thinking, well, there's, I don't think you can have too many 1176s. For LA2As, I might use one on a recording. But 160s, 1176 is my perfect combination. Are you a 160 into 1176 guy?
I love 160s and 1176s. Yeah, I use a lot more of them than I do. I love, like, for example, if I want to put in a vocal out front, a lead vocal out front, this is the guy. And sometimes background vocals, if you want to cause separation, you go to an optical circuit like a 3A or a 2A because of the different release.
Yep.
So, that's one of my main uses for 2As would be probably background vocals,
Now, we've been talking about kind of the flagship products. I think this is probably another one as well, isn't it?
That did far better than we expected it to do, because I was like, yeah, everybody wants a G-Comp style compressor, but like, how many people really need one?
Yeah,
they can use plugins, or maybe they feel plugins will be good enough. We've sold thousands of those. I'm shocked. So
it doesn't surprise me. I got to ask you your opinion. The one thing I'm nervous about when I'm mixing, if I'm mixing in a box, is my master bus.
Yeah.
I will, and you were doing it yesterday when you were mixing. If I don't have to put anything plug-in wise on my master bus, I'm a happy bunny. I'll do it all there. I'm so nervous about sticking a plug-in on and just, but I will go hardware all day on my master bus. Do you find if you're mixing in a box, you'll break out to something like this?
When I'm in my home studio, I have a chain that I like to insert, a couple different options. Yeah. I have this, and I have a real SSL that was pulled out of a console and repackaged, so it kind of looks generic, but it's the guts of I think it was a 4000G console. And I got to say, I use this one more simply because it has more options that the softer ratio, which is really cool. And on the high frequency roll-offs, the original mine didn't. They don't have any. Yeah. And so what that can do to a kick drum. It's really a beneficial thing.
When I've tried, when I've shot out SSL style bus compressors against my one that was in my console, that is always the differentiator. Yeah. Having that high pass frequency is huge, because you can have your whole mix folded. That's the SSL's never. I mean, I go back and listen to Hugh Padgham and Steve Lillywhite's stuff. It's still my favorite sounding records, except for the low end. You don't have that modern low end. There's no way you can do it, because that low end pumping is going to affect your whole mix. Yeah. You put that on, now you can have everything that you love about their mixes, but you can also have a big low end.
Now, of course, we know they've made their Mix Bus Plus now that has all kinds of bells and whistles. Yeah. But the original, like the one that's built into your desk here. Speaking of the desk, we got an AWS 948 in here too.
Oh my goodness, where did that come from? Yep.
How much do these retail for? The
$799. Yep, and they also have the original doesn't have transformers in it. We added Cinemag output transformers to it.
Nice.
So you can hit engage transformers. Cinemag, the owner David Guerin, it's funny because we all love color that transformers give, but he's also the kind of guy that's like, well, you don't want too much color, you want perfection, Yep. So they don't add a ton of color. It's not like you turn that on and my mix is muddy and dirty, but it just rounds it out just a little bit. I'm glad we added them.
I have found. Do you use it? I do. I have figured out that there's mixes where it's great on, and there's mixes where it's like, no, it's better off. Just a little. I don't need that little bit of harmonic low end thing. I think it's a great option. I'm glad you put that in there. I know it's subtle. I agree.
Yeah.
But you can hear it.
Yeah. And the circuit. What I love about that circuit is the circuit just adds this slight little character to the whole mix. So that's something you're not going to get with the plugin, where it just sounds like, I'm running through some analog hardware. I hear it like that, 1 or 2% of something changed, and it just makes it sound more analog. So.
Great. Yeah, and 799, that's fantastic. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
This colorful thing right here is not a bad thing to have in the rack either.
Yeah, I've always wanted to have one of these. I've seen them in racks and the colors, and I was like, I got to get one of those. And so, we popped it in.
On the
recently.
master class, we used it on tom-toms. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Mr. George Masterberg and Killer Toms.
Why would you not? It's setting right there.
Yeah, did you guys use much? Did you use these new Ampex preamps?
I did. I used them on the GAC mic, the snare drum mic that I do a ribbon mic thing off of in addition to a top and bottom thing, I have a ribbon mic on the shell of the snare drum, and I found it to be a wonderful, wonderful use for that. We had an overhead mic, because their ceilings, as we will see, and there are mighty high. So we threw a mic up there for fun. We used it on. Was it the trumpet or the sax? I'd have to go back and look at my mix notes. But
so you used the mono one in your part of the video, yes?
Yes, I have the mono channel.
And I've been using the stereo one, yeah.
Yeah, so something about this that, so when we were designing it, we were kind of shocked, and the owner of Cinemag helped us with this. So any design that has his transformers in, he's involved in. And he was like, Bryce, I'm kind of shocked, but the original circuit had like 90 dB of gain, 90. He's like, do you want all that gain? I'm like, why not? If the original had it. Sure. he's like, well, let's add a feature where you can turn off some of that gain. So we've got this high gain switch here. And when you go into that setting there with it off, it removes one of the tube triodes out of the circuit and drops you from 90 dB down to 70 dB.
Only 70?
Yeah, only 70. But what's interesting though is
it makes sense. I mean, these were made in the days of ribbon mics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was worried that the circuit might have too much noise floor in the 90 dB section if you didn't need the gain. It's such a quiet circuit. The layout's been done so well. So what I tell people, put in high gain mode all the time. That extra triode in that early part of the signal path just adds this extra vibe. So I tell people, which I probably forgot to tell you for the master class, but just leave it in high gain all the time. And then if you don't, just turn down your output if it's, pushing too hard.
Yes, I agree. In my use with it at the studio, I've been 90% of the time, all 3 tubes are popping.
It just sounds
I didn't know
warmer.
that. I think my demo is half and half.
Yeah.
It's like, I loved it on guitars.
Yeah.
I always love just pushing the edge,
Yeah.
especially when I'm tracking something that's 5% too clean, anything just to give it a little extra.
Yeah.
My whole thing with 1073s, for instance, and I don't know what you would talk with 1073s. Mine was pretty much keep going. Oh, I hear clip. Back down 1. So you
That's
go
how I
right to
do
the
it
point,
too,
you hear
yeah.
it clip.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that to Joe Barresi, who's obviously absolutely world-class engineer. And he's like, yeah, that's what we all do. Just as soon as you hear audible clip, when you go back 1, it's still saturating.
Yep.
It's just right on the edge. And I don't think I've ever really had my output above half.
Yeah.
Because I'm running this so hot that I'm probably about here. I turn that up, it'd be clipping in my input stage in my DAW. So I'm about there, pushing this super hard.
Now, Bryce, clear the air for me on something.
Yeah.
So original, we've all been in studios where there's been 1073s pulled out of racks.
Yeah.
And this is honestly nothing but a trim, right?
Yeah.
In many cases, when we have this full blast, it's at unity. And then we can trim it down if we want. But yours, don't you have it?
Well, no, it's set up the same as a 1073. My understanding of this, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, but I could be wrong, is this is part of the actual active electronics. And so this is part of that last gain stage in the preamp. And so like on this, for example, this 312 style preamp, this is nothing, the output is nothing but a pad.
Right.
So if you don't need that pad on, you want that all the way up so you're not padding your beautiful gain.
So that's unity right there. That's a trim knob only.
Trim knob only, whereas this actually does affect some of that electrical output on the last gain stage, is my understanding. So I actually agree with Warren. I like keeping it around 12 o'clock so that I'm not over pushing that. But yeah, anything that has an output trim, so like on our Ampex preamps, the output is just a trim only. So if you do not need it, turn it all the way up.
Okay, that's good. I think that's good information for your audience out there, just in case. Trim, active.
I just feel like if I'm using anything analog, I'm always going to push it as hard as I can.
Sure,
Not into like full distortion, but otherwise just plug in the front of your DAW, in your interface of your DAW. I like, this is why I like, which of course is the strangest thing, because we grew up, wanting everything to be quiet and undistorted because we were printing onto tape.
Right.
I presume your first records were made on tape.
Absolutely.
Yeah, mine too.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now we're in this world of like the stuff that we couldn't get rid of, we're missing, where everything's so clean in digital.
Yeah, so I guess in the scenario where if you wanted to use this more as like a real color box, dial this back, drive your gain, push it a little bit harder.
Yeah, I think in my demo with it, I don't think I went above about 2/3 maximum. Most of the time it was just pushing the preamp. A couple of times I'm actually down about half as well. So it's the coloration here. The tape sat, what is it doing?
Yeah, so tape saturation, obviously it's pretty hard to emulate or copy what real tape saturation sounds like. I've never worked on tape. My first recordings were to ADAT, so I don't even have that experience of saying I've smashed to tape or created tape saturation. So what that is it's a circuit of transistors that's designed to give a similar sound as that.
Okay.
It does add a little bit of gain to the circuit. What's interesting about it is, like anything, if you're going to clip it, so it's a tough feature to have. So let me give you an example. You have a vocalist, they're singing. You're like, oh, I'm going to turn on tape saturate. You dial it in, it's saturating just right. Then the vocalist belts out, and then they clip, right? So I like that feature on the stereo version, the version you have, to run a final mix through. Then you can dial in just the right amount.
Where it's got a limited dynamic range. Okay.
I have found myself using it for distortion I mean, that's the only time I
You can do
engage
that
it.
too.
You know, room mics or my
bass
extra
as
snare
well.
drum mic. If I want a little extra grit, I've popped that on there. But I haven't used it otherwise. I haven't used it for something that I want clean or on a stereo mix yet. That'd be something fun to play with.
You bring up a good point too. There was a video that I saw online where somebody just distorted the heck out of it with the tape saturation, just let it drive, and then did parallel, had a clean, and then just mixed it
blended
in
back
just slightly
in.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
You might be shooting yourself in your foot because everybody's probably thinking what I'm thinking. Hey, Bryce, you should put a mix knob on the end.
Yeah, right. Yeah, crap.
Rev 2 in 3 years, Rev 2 in 3. You got links converters in here too. I see.
Links converters in here. You know, something to show you too, if you want to just step a little bit off the carpet here.
I can do that.
Just because I talk about the construction, which we had the lovely opportunity of building from the ground up.
That's where he keeps his extra cash.
To show you. So
It's a dead body.
So here's that upper concrete slab.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got the foundational slab of the building.
Nice.
And then that rubber in between. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, so we've got
incredible.
our warehouse here with forklifts and trucks outside.
Yeah.
And those would be vibrating this foundational slab, but it doesn't get to this slab.
Yeah.
In our old building, it was a warehouse, and I was once recording an acoustic on a mic, and I was 60 feet away from the parking lot, more like 80 feet away probably.
Oh, wow.
And there was a truck idling, 18-wheeler, just idling out there, and my mic was going boom.
Yeah.
So,
Incredible.
Not anymore.
Cool. Not
you fixed
anymore.
that.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, that kind of detail really makes a difference. I've built studios, and some of these things can be massive differences if you don't do something right. Sometimes you can get lucky. In live rooms, you can get lucky, actually. If you haven't quite got it right, sometimes you take those moments, like it's super bright over here. That's cool, let's put a mic there. Or it's super dark here. Cool, let's put the drums in there. And But control rooms, not so much. You need to get that right.
You need to be quiet. That's something, too, that is really impressive with the isolation in this room. So you've got 3 panes of glass here. I don't know if you noticed, too. So originally when I'd started the designs, it was a 10-foot piece of glass, and then the far piece of glass, closest to the live room, was also 10 feet. And the designer was like, well, hey, don't you want to view that way? So it's a 10-foot piece, and then I think a 12-foot piece, and then a 14-foot piece.
Oh, wow.
It was funny, we had the contractors that were building say, oh man, 14-foot piece of glass, it's going to be too heavy because they're 3/4 inch thick.
Yeah.
They were like, can we do 2 pieces and put a caulk seam in the middle? I was like, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
But the isolation here, we should show how good that isolation. You're a drummer, right?
Oh, there's nothing.
Go out there and drum.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
Just go out and drum.
You've been telling people that you're a drummer, so you got to prove this now.
So we'll leave the doors open for a second. Yeah. Leave the doors open for a second.
Leave the doors open.
So we can hear it bleed in, and then we'll close the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to destroy my ears. I have no earplugs. But I'm going to do this for the PLAP audience, because I love them. Well, let's see. We'll just do a...
Keep playing. All right, so you got one door,
Yeah.
and then wait till we get the second door.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah. It really is just the door that I was hearing the sound through.
I mean, you have to almost go, do I hear something?
Yeah, you sort of invent it by looking
Yeah.
at him. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like if I open that door now, it really is just the door. There's nothing in this room. It's completely silent. I wouldn't know he's in there. Is he still playing?
That was some serious chops, wasn't it? If anybody don't know, we have Kasha on camera, Warren's wife. Oh, he wants me to play some more. He wants me to play some more. No one has asked me to play more drums. No one has asked me to play more drums.
Nobody said stop.
Okay. Oh, he said stop?
No, keep going.
Okay. All right, ready?
So I'm talking into my mic, obviously. One door's closed. I hear a little bit of drums and
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. That's great. That's really, really good.
Yeah, these doors, obviously they're acoustic doors, but they also have this drop-down feature, which is kind of cool. When they were first installed, they were installed incorrectly.
Yeah.
When the door closes, it drops down to close that air gap down at the bottom.
Nice.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
I love this no expense spared approach, my friend. This is really great.
Oh, yeah, I'll
really,
grab
really great.
Joe. right, buddy.
Is that enough? All right.
Hey, John.
Just for the record, what song was I playing? That's going to be a question for Warren.
It's.
Are you ready, Steve? Ballroom Blitz.
Ballroom Blitz.
Ballroom Blitz. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But you heard me doing that. Yeah. Hey, so because you were talking eloquently about the Tone Beast, there's one here. Talk us through it, Joe.
Well, okay, so what I love about it, who doesn't love an API 312 circuit, right? I mean, that at its core, that's essentially what it is. But what I've really found cool is, so the vintage and the clean is op amp, right?
Well, it should say right next to it, let's see here. So you've got discrete amplifier, which means, discrete op amp.
Okay.
And then you've got your transformer.
Yeah, so the transformer, I love nickel. I really, and it's 50% nickel.
Yep.
Yeah. But you can take the capacitor. Now, I haven't, you really have to push it to hear that difference. But you can also take the transformer completely out if you want just a really, really, really clean, sound.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's, Clay Blair?
I don't.
So Clay has the recording workshop, producer's workshop.
Okay.
He has that old studio where they did some overdubs for The Wall and ended up mixing and mastering it there. And that console was that time in the very late 70s where everybody was removing transformers.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't want to color the sound. We want it to be exactly like we hear. Because, of course, tape and everything else was coloring things so much, tube mics, everything else, that they didn't want this. So it's interesting because, we've been moving towards add transformers to everything.
Yeah.
So, but here you've got the opportunity to do what people were really doing in the late 70s, where they were removing transformers.
And, it's got a high-pass filter built into it, which I always love that option. I really do. But now, Bryce, you'll have to... another thing to point out. The op-amp, you use the standard number of pins so the user
2520 style op-amp. So you can, the John Hardy op-amps that are super clean, that's actually my recommended replacement. If somebody says, hey, I just want something that's completely different than what's in there, that op amp sounds different. Fits right in, no soldering. Like anybody could do it. Take the lid off, pop,
Nice.
And if I'm not mistaken, the tone switch plus 6 dB, that
input transformer impedance. And we do that on all of our preamps. Actually, from the very beginning, the little half rack, I was like, I want an input transformer impedance because it changes every mic quite a bit.
Right.
Usually when it's pushed in, it drops the input transformer.
So did you have it on your 73s as well?
On the 73s and on the Ampexes, which you are borrowing right now too. That's what that is, that tone switch.
Okay.
Now tell me, which one is more true to the original 312 circuit?
Believe it or not, tone pushed in is more similar.
So that's I just want the listeners to hear that in case they get it and they want to be as pure to the original concept as possible, tone in.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's not really, tone in isn't necessarily the right impedance for condenser mics. But I think because it gives that additional 6 dB of gain, it was the 312 way of getting higher amounts of gain. Let's just wire this transformer. Because the 312 style circuit is so simple. It's a simple 2520 style op amp, input transformer, output transformer. That's it. Like on a Neve, you've got 3 gain stages. Like this is one gain stage. So they're like, where are we going to get the gain? Let's get it from the input transformer. And then, you're getting a lot of gain, it sounds fine. Basically, tone in gives you a little bit more color. I like that we say, hey, if you don't need all the gain, pop that out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more transparent.
Right.
How much are those going for?
These go for $649.
It's nice.
Honestly, should be more.
They really should, because that's versatile.
You got 3 Cinemags in there.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Very, very
If you want to edit that out and change the price, I'm sure Eric can do that. Eric, you want to be able to be on standby to edit that?
Yeah, it's really for us. It's about just to put a plug in about Warm. It's really about making gear the price we think it should be. And then knowing that, hey, that's such a good price, it will sell. And not worrying so much about did I make X percentage of margin? It's like, no, let's make something we know is awesome. Let's get the price where we know people will appreciate it. And then we sell lots of them. Okay, we didn't make as much as some brands make on their preamps, but we sell a lot of them. So that's kind of the model that Warm Audio came in and changed in 2012 is it's not about making a lot of margin on every unit sold. It's about selling lots of units.
I wish I would. I don't know how I overlooked it. I was in here 3 days for a masterclass, friends, and I'm just now realizing there's a potassium.
Yeah, you could have been using the
I could have been
Berkowitz
using
the
it
whole
and never
time.
even patched it. Drat.
I want to quickly look over here and make sure we've gone through everything. We've got the 273 with EQs. We talked about these. Have you got into Neve-style compressors?
We have not. Nope.
What do you think? Is that that's something to go towards?
Maybe. I don't know how many people are wanting that. You mean like the diode bridge stuff?
Yeah.
Might be, kind of like the DBX 160. That might be one of the next things to check off the list one of these days.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got some people that are not used to the large speakers that are, 10 feet away from your head. They want something closer. So we've got these. And actually, they look like they're motorized, but it's actually Joe's muscles. He's lifting them. Yep.
Wow, so those Trio 11s.
Yep. And
I
these
had a
are
pair myself.
okay.
Know them well.
Yeah, and these are running through the Trinov as well, so it's kind of cool.
That's an interesting and good combinations because with the beryllium tweeters, we went to the factory, did the tour. I know these speakers really well. These are like, the detail on the high end's amazing, but is this a good way of describing it? They're soft. Like you hear all the high end, but the ATCs, they grab you. They're a very classic mid-range forward speaker like PMC, ATC, Gen X, where the Focals have a whole different aesthetic. They're all about being really deep in the high end. Do you use Focals?
I don't. I've honestly very little experience with them. I have never been in a room.
You're an NS10 guy though, aren't you?
I love NS10s.
So you're mid-range forward because NS10's got 7 dB at 1.5.
And my primary, my main speakers right now are Adams, the S series, which are also kind of a little bit more
forward,
classic forward, not as much, in the modern reach through the speaker kind of thing,
Yeah, these are very much like if you want to test your reverb tail, get the M7 up. You'll hear it just kind of go off into the distance.
Okay.
They have so much depth in the high end.
Yeah.
Where ATCs, PMCs, Gen X, that stuff is like, whoa, attack you. Yeah.
Did you use these at all yesterday in the master
You know
class?
what? We didn't, strictly for the fact that we had 25 people in here, some sitting in the very back. So we just wanted to make it as audible for,
Come and have a listen.
I was thinking we could do,
let's do it.
an A-B between the two.
This is some a southern rock band friends of mine, Them Dirty Roses. This one starts off with some grungy guitar that I just always love this track.
Pro Junior?
Do what?
What's the amp?
The app?
The amp.
I don't remember.
Now you've been warned, I've got a thorn stuck in my pride, and I just might bring up the past, or is that something that you hide? Well, not tonight. I start running, keep on running till I find a lonely girl. Lonely girl.
Oh, yeah.
I used to know, the only girl that I call mine. So tell me, is it always, or is it some days? Just tell me how I can take away the pain. But you can't.
I could mix on those. I can mix on those. Yeah, I like them.
Yeah.
I do remember now. I was sitting here
But those
thinking.
ATCs are so mid-range.
Oh my
forward.
gosh, yeah. I remember though now.
Yeah.
That was a 59, a 59 Sunburst. I think it was a Sunburst Les Paul out of an estate that they had loaned him to do those guitar parts through a JCM 800.
That's the JCM 800 at the beginning?
I believe so.
Play it again at the beginning? I believe. I mean, I love that mid. I love those nosy mids. It sounded like a small speaker to me.
Well, maybe that was the orange. Would that have been? We used an orange for some stuff. We used I
can believe the Marshall for the distorted guitars. I mean, I'm sure you're right.
Well, gosh, it's been. I tried that 2 years ago.
Right next
It just got mixed. It just got mixed recently, but that mix is 2 years old. Something like that. Look at that. Yeah, it's got that.
I love it. Yeah, that mid-range.
Yeah. It's mono, and then all of a sudden.
Now you've been warned, I've got a thorn stuck in my pride, and I just might bring up the past.
Nice singer.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. They're a great band. Remember that? Like almost like Molly Hatchet kind of thing. Just a classic rock band, man, but they're just 20-year-old Alabama boys.
Fast cars, open bars, going out every night. From the mansion some kid just bought on the hill to those downtown Hollywood lights. Face down with a key.
Yeah, great band.
Really cool.
Yeah, they are so good. Them Dirty Roses.
Yeah, I went with a band like that from a few years ago. But
Here's something I noticed too. So one thing our designer kept talking about was the value of soft mounted speakers in the walls and how you don't get all this low end phase cancellation and also nulls and all these different things. So it's kind of fascinating. Sit in the mix position, swap back and forth between the speakers, then come out here. One thing I love about these ATCs being on the wall, anywhere in the room, they sound like almost frequency response flat. It's pretty impressive. Whereas the moment you are out of the mix position, because these are just floating, you hear a huge bass pickup on the Focals.
I will confess that is true. But okay, so we had 25 people in here for the master class, and so this room was full. And we had guys sitting over here against the wall, like way out of the suite. I mean, way out of. Yeah. And they said that it still sounded good to them. That
There we go. It's interesting. Yeah, walk around the room while you're listening to this. Like it doesn't get really woofy, woom, woom, woom in the back, you know?
Look over steer.
So you wanna jump out your trick bag, ease on into your bag. You ain't just
Pretty impressive. But check this out.
started to let your hair go.
Now walk up to these speakers and get in the mix position, and it's like, whoa.
What is it? Tell me, you think you know. What is it?
Yeah, sorry.
The person in the song, you in a hip trip. Maybe you in the hip.
Mainly just in the low end.
Walk this way.
So come on.
That's Jimmy Prince.
Come on in the live room. Which, Joe, you've had some time to work in here.
I did. I just had 2 days of tracking in here.
How did everything go?
It went very well.
Keep talking. I'm going to go up here. So I haven't actually
Good.
been up.
Warren's getting
exploring.
lost already.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm getting lost already.
You go catch a nap. Why wouldn't you? But yeah, no, we actually had the drums, the drummer's kit right here. And what I was really impressed with was the low end of the room. The low end, room sounds are room sounds to a point, but there's also how does it sound in various frequency ranges. And the low end is always a unique one. Yeah. And this one was really, really good. The kick drum sounded really good in the room.
Good. Yeah, because you'd think that would be one of the bigger problems of a room this live. You'd think the kick drum might get out of control in here. Yeah. But that's one thing we've kind of been surprised with. And I was actually worried about that. Like, I was like, I love the aesthetic. I love the brick walls. Please don't put foam on my brick walls, Like, I wanted to keep the aesthetic. And the acoustic designer, Alex Otto, was like, I think I can keep it all. I think it's going to work. And the first drum session we did in here, actually, it was the band Nothing More. And they put the drummer underneath here. So they got some of that room and they got some of this tighter room. And the drummer and his producer both said, this is the best drum room we've ever heard. And I was like, Really? I mean, they've been all over the place in lots of cool studios. And they go, yeah, but like, since it's a live room, like a pretty lively room, we think the decay time, we just kind of got lucky with like the tempo and everything, and just everything just kind of matched up with how it echoed. And then that same engineer came in and did another session a couple weeks later with like a super smooth, slow moving band. And he's like, dude, the decay was perfect again. He's like, something about this room. So we've had a far better response than I expected. And I gotta give the hats off to Alex Otto, who designed the whole thing and was very particular about all his measurements and everything. But yeah, so it's live, but you've got, we've got gobos, we've got like a foldable wall you could wrap around. Obviously, you could throw a drummer in one of these ISO booths if you wanted to make things even smaller. But yeah, I feel like we've got, hopefully, the best of all worlds. We don't have concert hall big, but we've got...
No, but you've got the high ceiling, which snare drums love.
What are we reaching up there?
The center pitch is 26 feet. Yep.
Yeah, that's high.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty. I love the wood, the big wood beams.
Yeah, they're solid. They're solid wood beams. I mean, this isn't actually. This is kind of interesting to tell you a little bit about what this is, because you got these wood beams and then these two sections. So this is structural. But what it is there's actually a metal pole in here, and it's holding up the second floor, which is an office space up there. But since this is a studio, room within a room, you don't want the office space. Let's say there's somebody up there having a party in the office space. We don't want that vibrating. So that metal pipe comes down, and actually there's a hole cut out of this slab. It goes through that slab down to the foundational slab below that. So yeah, you've got fully decoupled second story. But yeah, all these wood beams that you're seeing here, these are all solid wood. And man, I'm so lucky that we purchased them 6 months before the pandemic when wood went up and everything. Yeah. So we
what
really
is it,
got lucky.
I'm more intrigued.
What is that again? Fir, a Douglas fir.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you can see the sap coming out on some of these.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of got it looks like a barn that's just kind of just kept going up.
But it's that like modern, like like the warehouse that's been converted into
a
really
little bit
cool
industrial. Yeah. It's got a nice blend.
Yeah, and we actually weren't planning on having the loft at all at first. We were going to sheetrock that up, or we weren't really sure what to do with that. And then he was like, dude, you should make it a loft. And I was like, how? And so it was actually an afterthought. After the whole studio was done, we had to cover everything up with plastic. And you can't fit a staircase like this in the door. Sure. So this had to be built on site, all welded together and put up after the rest of the studio was built.
So was it designed for this?
Yeah, they designed all the pieces, but they had, look at all the weld points. All this was done here on site, put together.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just went up there.
That's really awesome. It's a fun hangout up there.
We put a mic up there just to capture,
It sounds quite bright up there. Was it bright?
But it was cool because you know how there's bright, but there's distanced remove bright, and it was that kind of a thing. You could tell there was.
Oh yeah, by the time it got there, it would have been dark. It would have been dark, but the reflections would have been bright.
So it was kind of fun. I can see on some songs it really being.
That's my kind of favorite thing to do. Even if I'm going into a reverb plugin, I like to shape the EQ entering it. I hate doing it afterwards. I feel like you want natural things to happen. So yeah, great.
Did you see the patch panel up there when you went up there?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, so we put basically right near that speaker, there's a patch panel up there for the purpose of putting room mics up there.
Nice.
Yeah,
really nice. And then this overdub room here.
Yep.
2 of them.
Yep, 2 of them, where where the mics are inside there. So, nice. Juno 60.
Yes, sir.
These doors.
So these doors are, man, this one's a bit tough to push. Yeah, these are cool because this was obviously, all of this was the designer's idea. He wanted it so that you could open it almost 2/3 of the way open.
Yeah.
Because there's other types of glass doors that are like accordion and all that, but they prone to more problems. So he's like, if you do a slider, it's never going to be fully open like an accordion would be. He's like, but there's this one slider that breaks into 3 sections, and it's the. I'm trying to remember I think it's 40 dB of attenuation which isn't insane, but he's like, it's doing that even down at like 80 hertz. It's 40 dB of attenuation with both closed.
Oh, that's both. Okay.
Closed. Yeah. So you can if you go on the other side and, I want to see you do a dance here in a second, sing and dance for us.
Well, you.
He's wail on a guitar. Here we go. I'm
all about these pedals. I still haven't tried the pedals.
we could do that, and we could close the door and kind of see what it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could still hear a little bit through it.
But the sidelines would be incredible for the drummer and Now, this is big enough. If you had a producer come in that was dead set that the piano and drums had to play at the same time, you put the piano in here. Yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't realize you made. This is the jet phaser.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
You know what the number one comment and review about that jet phaser is? Yeah, I got this thing. It's really cool. Did I mention it's huge? Did I mention it's really big? Did I mention it's really heavy? So this guy can actually play too. Wow.
That's great.
So notice, you see how when that turned on?
Yeah.
You notice how it doesn't immediately go. Listen. So it speeds up like a Leslie cabinet speeds up.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that
cool? So the warm drive.
Got some level out of that guy.
Woo! Got a little boost on that one.
Yeah. So this is, I suppose, this is what.
Yeah.
What is that?
This is the
That's
Klon.
a Klon. It's a very Nashville-esque kind of a pedal, honestly. Like all the just overdriven amp sound.
Is it that's what John Mayer uses those, right? And doesn't he have?
I'm sure he. Yeah, I think he's
that's
got
one of his. Yeah, I think it's part of his deal.
Let's turn this down because it was ridiculous before. That's nice.
So this one's kind of cool. So you've got tone and voice, and one is doing the EQ before the distortion, and then one's doing it after. Or the
okay.
So check this out. Go ahead and here. Let's do. Okay. Now.
So this is
Okay, so a cool story about this. So I don't know if you heard of the original. It's called the Fox Tone Machine.
yeah.
You've heard of it? Okay,
Yes,
and
yeah.
they made them fuzzy like this too. So when we were looking for pedals to make, I was like, well, I don't want to just make a pedal that doesn't sound like the old one. And so I was calling around old like component warehouses and asking them gave them a list of transistors that I knew were in old pedals. I'm like, do you have these?
Right.
And this one shop said, we have 60,000 of the transistors that are in these, and I couldn't find them anywhere else.
Is this the germaniums?
It's actually silicon. The originals were silicon, but it's Fairchild. They're Fairchild transistors. And this pedal came out, I think, in 1972 or something like that. It's known for being used on Sly and the Family Stone and some of the Funkadelic stuff. But there's 4 of those transistors in each one. So anyways, we can make a lot of pedals with those transistors. But this Octafuzz switch is out of this world. So let's see here. So let's see. So you got the labels here. So we've got mellow versus bright. Let's see. Now check this out. Do some crazy soloing right up here in the upper neck area. We do without. Turn up just a hair so we can hear it.
Turn it up.
Yeah. Okay, so now flip it on.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Put it on that bit. Look. Oh, that's like a. That's it.
Yeah. Yes, some of those weird overtones. I don't know what that is. It almost sounds
Very
like
Hendrix.
ring module. Yes.
And they make you just want to play in a different way.
Let's go full sustain. Oh wow. That sounds great. And the
great.
gypsies, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Good spot. Yeah. They don't know.
Love it.
That jet phaser was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I like that.
They're all cool.
Well, they're all cool, yeah.
I'm not the biggest Klon fan, so
Yeah.
I was like, it sounds like a Klon.
Yeah.
This is really amazing. Yeah. You probably sell snizzle tons of these, though.
Yeah. Which is funny because when we first just were thinking about doing it, there's like, oh, there's so many other people making that pedal.
Yeah.
Why make it? And then it's like our top selling pedal.
Of course. Well, it's a conversation starter because everybody knows it's a $4,000 pedal. So, oh, wow, what's that? Yeah. But yeah, absolutely incredible. Love it.
I'm noticing that we're going through a Fender Twin here, and I'm also seeing. So are these available? Like if you went to the studio, are these yours in here just for the show?
Everything that you're seeing here is equipment that we've purchased for the studio, and we technically, we let everybody use it if they want to.
Awesome.
So when's the warm Twin coming?
Right? Yeah. Maybe one day.
So is the Nord and the Juno here as well?
Yep. Yeah. Actually, I hadn't heard. I'm not a huge keyboard guy, but there was somebody that he offered to do a gear trade on it. He's like, "Hey, I want some warm mics. Would you do a gear trade?" And I was like, I asked around, and people were like, "Juno 60 is awesome. Get that." So I swapped them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a legendary.
I saw an original one. I was like, it's original. It's great.
That is cool. Yeah, there's plenty of amps. I know in the master class.
Yeah. What did you use in the master class?
Let's see which one. Oh, the Two-Rock.
So this is our newest edition. This is exciting. The owner of this company is also a big Warm fan. So
nice.
We worked with him. The one, I haven't heard much of this yet because it's new, but the one of these other two that we've had for a while, these mattresses, that a lot of people talk about, even though this is their DC-30, they love this guy, and I've asked the owner what it is, and he's like, it's my custom special thing just for you. And even the serial number is like Bryce 01. And I'm like, so what is it? He's like, well, I put in this vintage rare.
Should be Bryce 007.
Yeah, right? Something cooler. Actually, let me look. Maybe it's 007. Let's see here. Serial. Where did I see that serial number? Oh, it's written on the inside. Serial number, Bryce Young. Never mind. I thought it was Bryce. This is my name. But he put in an old speaker in it, or he said it was older. You might know, actually. Maybe he was kind of pulling my leg. I don't know. What is that?
It's a 30 watt.
Is it modern?
So it's probably
is it modern.
It's probably their version of a vintage 30.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. But it's just got a cool tone to it. People love this thing. I always like big bottom end on guitars, so I really like this bigger matchless.
So he's back using the matchless name.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
There's a door right over here.
My favorite one.
I'm going to see you guys later. See you.
This is a special piano that took me.
C9?
No, so
This is
it's
C7?
their Disclavier series. Actually, I got to say it right. Disclavier. I don't know how to say
Yeah,
it.
don't worry about it. No.
But it's a MIDI piano.
Ah.
You familiar with those? You ready for this? Yeah. So we actually
No hands.
we've had people come in and they've wanted to test mics, and you can play back the same thing perfectly after replacing the mics in the same position. We've also tried to pitch it as like, hey, send us your MIDI files. You live in some other state. Send us MIDI files. We'll record them in this room. We'll use room mics. But this is Yamaha's sort of latest and greatest. It's basically their C7 with the. What's cool about the player piano, it's built into the construction of the piano. Oftentimes, if you mod a piano for a player piano later, you're cutting into the wood, you're changing the piano, but this is all part of the structure. And it's got all the same pressure points that, how many is it MIDI that has a certain number of, the pressure points?
120,
I think, yeah, it's the same, 120, yeah.
Yeah, the pedals are moving. That is
It's
cool.
being played a lot with the damper pedal on, which is why it's so dark, which is nice.
Well, and whoever did this song clearly was playing very quiet because
It can play a lot louder. And I haven't experimented much with it, but if I hit the play button underneath, it plays the last song.
So yeah, it connects via Ethernet, and then in there they can send MIDI files to it. So.
People ask about studio pianos and why do I see so many Yamahas? Why do I see so many C7s? And Warren could probably chime in on it, but the bottom end still has an attack and presence. It's a tight bottom end. It's not booming out of control, and it's got enough natural sparkle that it fits within a rhythm section. So you're trying to fight against guitars. You're trying to fight against other keyboard passes and B3s and everything else. The C7
This one's special, though. I had a C7 for a long time. When we did Someone Like You, Adele, that was a C7. This is better sounding.
They naturally find their way through a mix a little bit better without as much help.
Yeah.
And as long story short.
Ours was Randy Staub's, like a real great piano player. This is This is really nice. So it's Disclavier. Is there anything else about it that's special?
So apparently it's a collaboration between Yamaha and I don't know piano brands that well, but is there a German brand named like Bosendorf or something like that?
Bosendorf, yeah.
So they I guess it's a collaboration between the two. This is if you were to say to the Yamaha people, this is a C7, they would say no, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's a different
Doesn't
thing.
sound anything like mine at all, but it sounds better than my old one.
It's very
It's very.
It's so balanced.
It's balanced, but it's very.
It's warmer than I'm warm.
It's very classical. It's very tight. I wish I was a better piano player to show it off, but it's. I don't know. I don't know explain it. It's more. It's not grandiose. That's the wrong word. It's got a real statement about it. Where what I like about C7s is they can be. Like you just said, they can be not invisible. That's a horrible way of describing it, but they can fit so well into a track. They're amazing for that, and they can be the perfect accompaniment. This has got a lot of personality, but in an even way, because sometimes personality implies, this note's kind of weird and twilly. Guitars that have personalities usually mean that They fret out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And another thing about Yamaha, about their, the damper system, mechanically they're quiet. I've been in studios with a lot of different pianos, and you put the mics up here and you really hear that damper closing. Yeah, and Yamaha has a really just a. On stage it really wouldn't matter, right? But in the studio, when you got microphones this far from it matters. It matters.
Yes.
We had a pianist come in here that had done all her work on Steinway. she was like, I just don't know about Yamaha. I just don't know about it. And we're like, well, let's set up a couple mics and have you go in there and play. And then we pulled up her previous recordings on the Steinway, played this back, and she's like, oh, wow. She's like, okay, this is, I'm sold, you know.
Yeah, I'm hearing what he's talking about. It's different. It's different. My like our C7 is a sharper, brighter sound.
It's also the action's really nice. Because I'm not really a piano player. I'm a guitar player, plays piano. I'm not a piano player. And the action on this is just perfect. I could play this for hours and be tracking and, punching in, doing all the pop piano stuff that we have to do. And my hand's not going to drop off. But it's not light. Does that make sense? Play it. Just put your hands on it. It's not a light action, but it's not a heavy action. You know what I mean?
It's a medium action.
It's weird. It's very defined. It's very like, it's got that, like, you know what I mean? It's got that bounce to it, but I don't know. I don't know anything enough about pianos to have any idea to know why it's so different, but pretty freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you got wheels so you can steal it.
It does have wheels, so I can steal it. Yeah, I don't know that I could get that in the stove. The carry-on.
Yeah, we didn't have that for a little while, and so they were just resting on the normal wheels. Mm-hmm. And then we had a couple people want to move it, and it started creating compression marks. You can see some of them on the floor here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was like, we got to get a proper dolly for it. And this also allows it to easily go in that ISO booth.
That's what I was
thinking.
thinking.
It over there. You get a couple of guys on one end. You lift the the tire over the tracks.
Yeah.
So
but you could, if somebody was really curious about the ultimate piano recording and wanted to move it around, you can easily do that, because pianos otherwise are not really very mover friendly. Yeah. It's a great instrument, Bryce. It's beautiful.
We have done, I wouldn't say a lot, but we've done a few sessions of jazz. Yeah, actually.
Is there a scene in Austin for jazz and stuff?
There is. I mean, these guys were Austin musicians, and they stay pretty busy, and they came in. Actually, I should show you that track.
Could be built around pianos.
Oh,
that's
a good point.
You can build a reputation of a studio. I love that room. The piano and the sound of it is amazing. And every band that has a live piano comes in.
There's certain genres in Nashville that's all that matters.
The Bunker in Brooklyn, they have this insane piano, and they're just booked out with jazz gigs all the time. Quartets coming in.
Yeah, we have a couple rooms in Nashville like that.
Yeah, we need to probably do a better job, because probably when people come in, they're like, oh, it's a Yamaha. They assume it's a C7. And it's not just am I saying that right? C7, 7C, I always forget.
No, C7. Right. Yeah.
And then we're like, no, but it's special. It's got a player. They're like, well, I'm not going to use the player. Right. But it's more than that. You're right. It is a different, it's a completely different piano, or it sounds that way. Because when a lot of people are like, I don't know if you want that bright sound of a C7. I don't know if you want that in your studio. So I sort of at first was like, do I want a Yamaha? And then it was actually, interesting story. Ben Folds called us one day, and they patched him over to me, and I'm talking to him, and he's like, I was in Australia, I was in this guy's studio, and I loved my piano sound, and it was on some of your mics, and I've just got to learn more about your company. So we started talking. I said, hey, by the way, we're building the studio. What kind of piano should I get? And he's like, I'm typically a Steinway guy, but they came out with this new Disclavier piano. I think it's the best piano I've ever heard. And that's what made me seek it out. So kind of an interesting story.
Bring him down.
So what mics was he?
He was listening to, I wish I remember, I think it was the 251s on piano.
Okay, so he liked that extra sizzle on the top as well.
Yeah, it was either that or the 67s. I forget. He might have heard both, but he ended up loading up with a bunch of Warm gear, and he's now using Warm on all kinds of projects. So
nice. Yeah. Her fleece was white as snow. 1, 2, 2. What's this one?
That one right there? That's the WA14.
1, 2, 2.
So that's based on the very first version of the C414.
Nice. 1, 2, 2. Which is usually a mic that sounds good in my voice, so this does.
Yeah, it's the brass capsule, right?
Yeah. 1, 2, 2, 2.
And here's headphone volume right here.
Okay, great. Yeah, the volume's good. 1, 2. Mary had a little lamb. And then 3. 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. What's this?
U80. So that's our WA87. So U87 style.
1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Yeah, definitely got a lot better high mids. But I like this one, strangely enough, on my voice for like voiceovery stuff. 1, 2, 2. Yeah. If I was for the audio book, this probably would be right. although it's a bit more susceptible to pops.
But that's a 47 capsule.
No pop filter.
That's a 47 capsule.
But without, without the pop
right?
filter, 1, 2, 2.
What'd you say?
1,
yeah,
2,
47
2.
capsule. Yep.
1, 2, 1, 2, 2. Yeah, sounds great. 1, 2, 2. None of them are sibilanty. Is that a word?
Yeah.
None of them are sibilanty, which is good. 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. Oh, this. What is this one? Is this the Sony?
C800. Yeah. Yep.
1, 2, 2. This has definitely got really forward mids. Probably too much for me on my voice. I'd probably sing into this one. 1, 2, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2, 2.
Oh, let me see something here. Yeah. Oh no, you're good. You're good.
And these are your headphones?
They are. We actually came out with them to bring to trade shows and stuff.
Yeah.
We haven't even released them.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they're actually pretty good though.
They're a little bit like 7506s, but with better bottom end.
Yes, hey, that's exactly right. Actually.
Is that what you try to
Yeah.
design them to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
1, 2. Is this the
That's the
is that the 47?
WA-47. Yeah.
1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. That's actually most natural sounding one. Strangely enough, it sounds like what I'm used to. But I actually like the 87. I like the.
Yeah. Let's go ahead on that guy. Yeah.
And what's this one?
So that's our 67 style.
1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 10, 11, 12, 12. 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 1, 1.
Yeah, we should have brought a pop filter over here.
That's quite all right.
Yeah.
1, 2. This is C12, presumably.
Yep.
1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 1, 1, 1. Actually, that sounds really good on me, which is unusual. The 251.
Yep.
1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Oh, that's smooth on me. 1, 2. Huh. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4. 1, 2. Matt always does a chicken tikka masala. Chicken tikka masala. 1, 2. So we'll be up on stage, some huge venue, just going chicken tikka masala through every mic. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 1, 1.
It's funny.
And now he's like, everything's digital now, so he just has an iPad, and he's just like EQing everything on the iPad. Ridiculous.
Funny.
If I was doing a podcasting, I'd actually get this one, because it which is really weird, because this is the $300 one. Is that correct?
Yep.
So you'd expect that one to be overly bright and take your head off. Right. It's not at all.
It actually uses the same capsule as this one.
It's really weird. But that's brighter. That's got more detail on the high end. I'd sing through this. This was phenomenal. This would be my singing mic. But for podcasting stuff, because in podcasting you always want that kind of, hi there.
Yeah.
The lows on this are phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
For
it's a great mic.
$300.
I use that on TomToms a lot.
There you go.
really
Proves
good.
the proof of the pudding. It's got that little scoopy low end.
I love it.
Which is great on podcasts, kind of.
These are the same setups that we have at the trade shows, like the.
So how much is the, what do you call it? You call it a WF251?
Yeah, so that one is $849.
That's really good.
Yeah, they all have a little unique story about them. So I mean, they're all. We're a recreation company, so the replicas.
Yeah.
Like this one I'd say is a diehard replica. Same here, same here. This is our own. So we took the 47 capsule and said, hey, let's just use a real low-cost transformerless circuit with that great capsule. Let's see what we get. And people like it because, like you said, they're not getting ridiculous sibilant high end on a low-cost mic. This is basically, these two are both exact replicas. All three of these. This one we had to change because the VF14 tubes, the metal tubes, they don't exist anymore at all, period. You just can't do it. So a lot of what people that know the 47 really well said about the original is that a lot of its tone came from the transformer because the gain of the tube was so low, it required the transformer to do more of the work. So we chose a low gain tube. It's a 5751 tube. It's a little bit of a unique circuit. The capsule's accurate, but we just said, hey, let's nail a K47 capsule exactly. Let's use a really cool transformer. So this is a tab Funkenwork transformer as well, but it has changed a little bit. But shockingly, I think it sounds like a 47. So it's not an identical, part for part schematic replica, but we went after the sound as best we could with what's available. So,
Yeah, great. And what are these retail for?
$949 on that one. Yep.
Wow. That's crazy. And the 67?
67, $899, $999, $849. So these are all up there right below $1,000. And then these are a little bit less. So you got $699, $399, $299, and then $1,199 on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the 87, would you say $700?
$699. Yep.
Yeah, that's a bargain. That's a good one.
Yeah, actually that we did a session in here where we wanted somebody to just try the 87 on everything. They even put them on toms, overheads, vocals, and it was surprising how it just kind of works on everything.
Well, I mean, obviously the original 87s with a common denominator, a lot of the guys I'm fans of, John Leckie and Hugh Padgham, Steve Lillywhite, when I asked them if you only had one or two microphones to make a record, they all say the same thing. They say a 57 and an 87. All of them said that as their answer. They're like, every 87 on anything and everything. You know, could be on, put it on the overhead, put it on the piano, sing into it, put it in front of the kick drum, and then give them 57s, and that's it. They could make a record. So it's definitely a utilitarian mic, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's kind of getting a second wind. So when we release this one, I'll admit we could have done a little bit better with the marketing on it. So it's based on the classic C414. A lot of people don't know the whole history. So basically,
there's so many versions. I didn't even know myself until I did research.
There's more than 12 now. But basically,
it's insane.
Yeah, there's all these tube mics coming out. Then Neumann comes out with a transistor mic, right? Yeah. And then AKG's like, hey, we want to come out with our transistor mic, which this was their answer to that. Freddie Mercury sang into the original. The originals go for like $4,000 because they have the same brass capsule that's used in the C12. So unfortunately, because they've changed the mic so many times, it's now kind of watered down to people who go, oh yeah, those are cheap mics. You can get them anywhere. They're used all over the place. But this is actually an exact replica of the very first circuit with the C12 style brass capsule. So it's special. When we released it though, people were like, oh, it's black, so it looks like the newer ones. We should have made it the old color, because the old ones were this color. But over time, it just slowly builds up steam and sales, because I think people are hearing about it like, it's very, I love it on guitar amps, actually. Just very open. That you don't get a lot of the resonance that you get from the brass structure around this. That some of that creates this character. But this one just sounds I don't know, just an open, clean. It's great on pianos. I mean, what have you used it on?
I've used it on drum overheads, pianos, tom-toms. I've tried it, vocals, guitar cabinets. I can't think of anything that I haven't tried it on.
Okay. Well, what would you say it shines on of those things?
Oh, man. Drum overheads and piano and acoustic guitar.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I say three things?
Yeah. Overheads.
To me, a 414 is very similar to an 87. In the way that you can throw it in pretty much anything and it works. You know, it's like you just get.
It's not always your first choice, but it'll do the job on everything.
For some reason, a 414 could be really good on a vocal, or could be the worst vocal sound you've ever heard. For some reason, that's the only thing.
And that's kind of how it is. Yeah, like on females, I don't typically recommend this because you get that high mid thing going on, and it's just it's not right.
I'm very impressed with this. I think that's a really good $300 microphone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That is really great as a utilitarian, and this sounds very close to my mental recollection of my 47. But this would probably be my vocal mic, I think.
A lot of people are in love with this. This has been out for 4 or 5 years now. We have a lot of fans. Some of those fans are becoming fans of this one too. We only just released this guy though, so but yeah.
Well, how similar are they? Because in theory they're fairly identical.
So this is using a Cinemag transformer, which is cleaner. And this is using that Tab Funkenwerk, which just adds that. I mean, I could hear it when I was listening to your voice. It just adds that kind of interesting hair on the top. Right. Even though it's not sibilant, it's just like there's some magic going on. This one's just a little bit more neutral sounding.
Right. So, but otherwise, they're pretty similar circuits. I almost basically similar. Identical.
Yeah.
But what's interesting for me is I find that, that's something and it's not surprising you didn't last. Because it's the mic that if I had 10, I mean, what have we got? We've got 5, obviously, 6 and 7. I mean, this is 7 of probably the 10 most famous mics in the world. It's probably going to be most used, second most used. then a certain kind of singer is going to find this amazing. A certain kind of singer, you know what I mean. I'm not surprised that it was the last one you made.
Yeah, and we already had this one out, and as you already mentioned, they're very similar. So we were like, let's give this one some time for people to fall in love. This is actually more, in my opinion, more well known, the C12 than the 251. So. We also didn't want to release this soon after this and have it just completely cast a shadow on this one.
Sure.
So a lot of people got into our 251 never having heard or listened to or been around a real one because there's less of them. I kind of like that. I sort of feel there's a little bit of education in some of the market that are warm fans that are like, okay, I've heard about these 251 things. Let me try one out.
Sure.
That was out for 4 or 5 years before this guy.
You think about the M50s, the M49s, those kinds of things?
We've got so many condenser mics. I think it's time for us to look at, to maybe some dynamics or ribbons. We're not there yet. Nothing being launched anytime soon. But and I also kind of like what you brought up about the C12As is some of those other models are just not as well known.
Yeah, when we were at Abbey Road, I mean, obviously all these mics, they have an abundance of them, but in most of the conversations, the 49s and the 50s are like orchestra mics. They use them all over the place. We went in, both the 2 main rooms are booked out for 2 years in advance and almost entirely by orchestral dates. And it's everywhere you look is M49s, M50s, everywhere. So I'm not saying they don't get used for vocals. Of course they do. But yeah, you say somebody Neumann vocal mic, they're going to go U47 probably first because of the Beatles. Probably if they're rock fans, 67s and then 87. I mean, that's going to be what people are going to say, Yeah. So I suppose it just comes down to whether you want a specialist market. It won't be as big selling as some of these, but for the guy or girl that wants to mic up a room and record quartets and
our fans keep telling us to keep doing what we're doing.
Okay.
We're gonna probably be branching out in the next 5 to 10 years, but if they want us to keep doing what we're doing, we're gonna have to move to some new models we haven't done before. So those may very well be on the list for sure.
I just know, like you've explained, your business model is being able to make a lot of something at a competitive price and sell a lot so that you can keep your margins down and still be profitable, at that lower price. And it might be a little bit more difficult on a specialized thing, which might sell 1/20th of, say, that what does.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? If the volume isn't there. No, that's a good point. Very good point.
But I've never actually. Have you ever owned an M49 or M50?
No, unfortunately.
I don't really know many people that do.
I would like. I do enough orchestra work. If you ever make M50s, go ahead and put me in the first 3 on the list. I'd do a deck of tree in that all day.
Yeah, M50s. Okay.
So we got other areas to check out.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen the majority of the studio.
Marvelous.
And we've got some mic lockers. We've got loads of Warm Audio. We have other brands too. So Warm Audio doesn't make dynamics or ribbons. So we have like
coming?
Sennheiser Dynamics. We're playing around with the idea, but we've got SM57s, M80s by Telefunken, Sennheiser 421s, AEA 44. So we want this to be a studio that has all of those choices for anybody that wants.
Well, plus, you want to show off your pre's and compressors.
Why not?
Flavors of mics to.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, these are kind of cool. I love these metal cases.
Yeah.
We can lock them up if needed. But yeah, there's one of the AEAs we got there. What do you know? Royer? Oh no, Coles right here. DI boxes.
I want to try these out. You use these, yeah?
I do. Yeah, I have 2 or 3 of those. Yeah. Yeah, they're great. Nothing negative to say whatsoever.
Great.
Yeah, variable pad, pretty cool too. That does not affect your frequency response.
Yeah.
It's pretty surprising. Like you'd think a variable pad on a DI would just do some weird EQ stuff, and it doesn't.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Didn't a brilliant mind kind of help design those things?
Yeah. This is a Cinemag in it as well?
Yep, Cinemag transformer, and he designed the whole circuit, both passive and active boxes. It was actually his idea. He's like, you need to make a better DI box than everybody else at these price points. I'm going to help you do it.
It's incredible. Because he's brilliant. He's a brilliant man.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Very cool, dude. All right. Well, you want to walk and see some of the shop part of the building?
Let's see some of the shop parts of the building.
All right.
Walk this way.
Oh, man. Okay. The cool story, I was telling Joe in the car last night, he was pretty tired, and so I don't know if he cared all that much.
I remember it, yeah.
So kind of an interesting story. I was at the Journey concert here in Austin, Texas, and Toto was there. And Lukather from Toto was Great guitarist, love the guy.
Incredible.
But at the end of the show, Journey said we have a special guest. And they brought Greg Raleigh on stage. And I was like, who is this guy? And so I looked him up on my phone and realized he was a founding member of not only Journey, he was their original lead singer. He actually sang on 2 albums with tons of hits with Steve Perry. They traded off vocals. And I never realized. I was always like, oh, it's Steve Perry. Yeah. No, they sang together, wrote these songs together. So he comes up on stage and they play a couple Journey songs. And then they start that beginning, that intro, to Black Magic Woman by Santana.
Right.
And I was like, this is one of my favorite songs. I just love their version of it. I'm a big Santana fan. And then Greg Raleigh starts singing, and he sounds exactly like the record. He didn't sound like anything had changed. And he was playing the keys and everything. Santana was at Woodstock. I mean, just huge thing. So anyways, I go home and tell my wife, oh my gosh, this guy, Black Magic Woman, I wasn't expecting a Santana song, original singer, so cool. She goes, well, he lives in Austin. Why don't we hit him up? And I was like, what? So she shoots him an email, gets a call 2 days later from his son. Him and his son come to the studio. His son is a producer now. His son then produces an album in here.
Nice.
Then his dad one day paints the first Santana album on a guitar, Greg Raleigh himself, and says, you know what? Let's gift this to those warm guys. And there it is. So Greg Raleigh, the original Santana singer.
That's the album cover, right?
Yeah, that's the album cover, yeah.
Wow.
So, kind of a cool little story. That all happened like in the last month. So,
Amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
It may still be in tune then.
I actually asked him, I'm like, can I play this? He's like, well, there's paint all over. I know, but it'd be cool. He's like, well, that would mess up the paint job. I'm like, okay.
Hey, Warren. All right, keep this on camera. If I get a bullseye, you got to give me your 176, 175. Okay.
And how many chomps? Oh.
Okay, you get to keep it.
You almost got it.
Now he will watch.
You got it. I won't. No, I won't. This has been years.
Okay, if you get a bullseye, what do I have to give you?
Oh, I have no idea. Oh, well, that died. Oh, did I get it?
No, that's close though. I get to keep all my stuff, and he gets to keep all his stuff. How about that?
You're like,
I almost got it with that second dart, though. That would have been like boots.
So this is our lobby for staff. This is my wife, Aubrey. She handles our
Hi, wife Aubrey, that we haven't been talking to before. We don't know who you are.
Artist relations.
Nice hat. Thank you.
And she sports the hat a lot better than I do. I'm not a hat guy, so.
He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Your head's too big.
My head is big. It's very large. It's very large.
Physical size.
She's like, both. Wow. So this room, I don't think either of you have been in yet, or definitely,
I haven't seen that.
So we test every product that goes out the door. So we import the product from our various factories. A little bit about us, what I think makes us unique is we source components from all over the world. Like we really care about the recipe of what's in the product. So Cinemag transformers are used in like high-end like retro design products that are $4,000. And so we use a lot of the same components that these really high-end companies are using. The way we get our prices down is we send these components over to our factories in Asia. They put them together. Products come back here to Texas, and then we test every single unit here in Texas, make sure it's good to go. And this is that room. So over here, we've got 96 channels of audio running to all these little patch bays, and you can plug in a compressor, whatever, send audio to it. We also have microphones in a soundproof booth out here, so you could put a preamp down on the table, connect to a microphone that's not receiving any signal, crank up 90 dB of gain on the preamp, and hear is there any buzz or any weirdness. So
fantastic.
We do majority of the testing by ear, actually, because there's things you catch, like distortions and things that you don't always catch with other testing processes.
So you're saying the microphones are in an isolated...
Well, let me rephrase that. So the preamps are tested by connecting to a microphone that's isolated, because you don't want to hear any sound. You want to hear just the preamp noise or any potential issues. Mm-hmm. When they test the microphones, they actually plug them in right here, and they talk into them, listen to them. And when you test 50, 60 of the same microphone in a day or whatever, you really become accustomed to how it sounds. And you go, oh, wait, this one's missing low-end response, or, I hear a buzz on this one. You can quickly catch any potential issues.
Are your microphones that you test your preamps through in an isolated, like how like a chamber that's super isolated.
Like an
everything,
anechoic chamber. So that process occurs when like designing the microphone to make sure the frequency response is right. And once we get that right, then most of the testing is done by ear. And so we have like golden samples that we know have been tested in an anechoic chamber that sound perfect. And then they use those to make sure. So before they start testing a round of, let's say, 50 of our WA-87s, they would listen to the golden sample first, compare, and then move through. And in general, we don't have a lot of issues. Usually things are spot on. Not a lot of components in a microphone. If you put the good components in, it's going to sound good unless there's a soldering error or, a defective part, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Little inspiration piece.
Yeah, I'm a big Beatles fan, so.
You want to? Could I be a WA?
Yeah, actually, I think that should go right on your forehead, Joe.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
There you go. Done. Perfect.
I was hoping you
Do
put
I
it
put it
upside
upside
down.
down?
No, it's straight. It's straight. You had it straight.
No, I better not. I can't put it back on there because it's been used. So I was.
Okay. Yeah, so that's about all to show in this room. Customer service is handled here, so we answer the phone over here at this desk. Emails here. Pretty straightforward. This is the gear testing room.
How many pieces of gear kind of funnel through here a day?
We test.
Because you guys, I mean, you sell a lot of pieces.
Yeah, last year
I was about to say, this must be really busy during the day.
they tested last year. I think it was close to 70,000 units through this room.
Wow.
Jesus, Mary Joseph. And how many people are at the station?
It kind of depends on seasonal too. Like in the fall, we get really busy. We need to hire a couple more. I think right now we have 5 or actually 6 people working in this room. Actually, 1, 2. It might be 7 because we just brought on a new guy. So it might be 7, but we could fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, wow. Kind of
Room for growth.
Yeah, we could do 14 if we had to.
Yeah, crazy.
Yep, and we've got in here, this is our repair tech room. So any products that fail inspection get sent into here and fixed. And then any RMAs as well. So a customer who's had a product for a couple of years, it's crazy how many come back and we're like, oh, it's a bad tube. Like, it's funny how people don't know, like, oh, you have to replace vacuum tubes.
Right.
This day and age. So, but we get, so this is the room where they'll repair any RMA defectives.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and then this is our warehouse. Come on in.
Wow. It's a lot of gear.
Yep.
Look at all these mic capsules.
Yep.
There's a schnizzle ton of gear in here.
Yeah, so
Man.
about 650 pallet spaces. I have to mention this because my wife loves it when I bring this up, but they changed the fire code right as we were building the building.
Yeah.
We originally weren't going to have to put sprinklers in, and then they changed the fire code. A sprinkler head every 4 feet, every layer, because metal microphones might explode.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so yeah, quite a lot of gear in here.
Wow, yeah.
That's a lot of sprinklers. Yeah, I see now. Wow.
Yeah.
God, how much was that to do?
Yeah. Oh, don't even get me started. Yeah. Yep. Multiple layers.
Broadcast boom arms. So you make boom arms.
Yep. We've got
I don't think
boom
I knew that.
arms. Yep. Boom arms, pop filters. We have this secondary podcasting brand, which we came out with it during the pandemic because everybody's podcasting.
Right.
And we got a couple mics and boom arms and things, but then as soon as the pandemic ended, podcasting slowed down. So, but it's still great. We still sell quite a lot of it. Cables is something people don't know we do. So we.
I thought it was cool that you were working with Gotham. I thought that was pretty huge. I knew who they were, so I'm impressed. What are the jacks? Are they Neutrix? What are they?
They're not. So they are sort of a Neutric replica.
They look like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you make them yourself?
No, we do not make these. These are made in a factory. Actually, Gotham designed sort of this connector. And turned us onto it, so we have it added.
I have quite a few of your the heavy duty one that's got the shield, the wrap around it.
Yep.
We love those
This
things.
one? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you like it just because it feels like it's indestructible, or is it actually easier to use?
Also, the way it coils up. I mean, it's so. I don't know. We love them. We love them. I wish I had about 20 more. That's let's see
Keep
how many.
talking.
Yeah, exactly. Is that what's in here?
Plenty of cables.
Yeah. It's great. This is that's a lot of gear in here.
There is, yeah, quite a lot of gear in here. And, cables take up a lot of space, as an example. But at any given time of a particular microphone or preamp, we could have anywhere from 100 units to as much as 1,000 units of just one model in the warehouse, depending on if we just received a batch or the volume.
So when did you get started again?
2012 was when the first product was sold. So it was April 2012.
So
So it's been
pretty rapid 10 years.
10, 11 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's massive growth, isn't it?
From garage
Garage.
to here.
Yeah, I mean, it really was me hand building
Good job.
stuff and selling them online. Yeah, thanks.
Good job.
American success story.
And this is the aisle that they put all of the tested stuff. So if you look closely, there's these warm audio QC, meaning it's been tested. So when the shippers, they come to this aisle to basically grab everything. So there's a little bit of like, here's the 47s, here's our 251s that are tested and ready to go, 8000s, CX12s, etc. So.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a little warm tonight, but we do have air conditioning in here.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely not like it is outside.
It's Austin, Texas.
Outside it is like, Well, you had to depolish your head earlier. That's how.
Yeah. But one thing I was super impressed with, because, having a studio in Nashville that also fights humidity issues, keeping the humidity out of the tracking environment and the control rooms, is an issue. Your studio in there, I mean, it's been in the 90s, I think, through the day. And I haven't had any humidity feeling
Humidity
like that.
right now is about 55%. It's higher than I want it to be. But yeah, if you're below 60, you're like golden.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And that helps instrument tuning, as you know. Pianos and guitars. And that's a thing in Nashville. In some rooms, guitar players fight double hard. And the piano, by lunchtime, maybe we need to retune this thing already. But that feels like that'd be a really solid, stable environment for an acoustic instrument with it. That's a big deal, big deal. When the piano, that B flat is flat.
it's funny you bring that. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because we had humidity issues in our studio when we first moved in. The AC wasn't working right. And all of a sudden I came in one day and all of the rack screws on the rack were rusted.
Oh my Lord.
It's like, I knew it felt humid in here, but I'm getting
quick.
nervous now. Like, let's turn off the console. And so we had somebody come in and he's like, dude, you got like 82% humidity in your studio. So we had to get it all figured out, dehumidifiers in. It's all corrected now. But I was about to freak because I'm like, we got all these Gibsons on the wall. We're at 82% humidity. And I'm like, oh.
That's one of the things when I walk into a room, I think about, just because of tuning.
Yeah, I had to have all the guitars reset and redone later, just because they're all wacky. So.
Well, they've got it fixed very well, I will say. I love all the AC/DC and the Beatles.
Yeah, I was looking at the Pink Floyd and John Lennon posters, actually.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We let these guys put whatever
So
up.
a lot of your techs, a lot of your personnel, over the last couple of days, I've met several of them, and it seems like there's a lot of musicians and engineers, in the family. It's not just, hey, I was looking for a job and I found one. Yeah. It's people that actually, hey, I play guitar in a band, or I went to Crass. I heard all these stories. It's like, wow, he's surrounded.
How many
himself
people do you employ in Austin?
So total in the company were about 30 people, and then Austin, we about 20 of those people. And even like John, who's down here at the end, who's a shipper, you'd think, well, he doesn't have to be a musician. Well, he basically wishes he was James Hetfield,
That's cool, though. I mean, they care. They care. It's not just a job. It's like, I love this industry. This is when I go home at night, I use this stuff. Or.
So the band director of Metallica actually contacted us recently. We talked to him. I apologize, I don't remember his name offhand, but he wanted to really test our 84s, which you like.
I love.
And we sent him one to check out, and then he ended up buying, I think he said 8 or 10 of them for drums and some various things. But then we told this guy, John, in shipping, that he loves Metallica. Like, dude, Metallica's using our mics. And he's just like, so it's kind of cool. Like, hey, I'm shipping mics to Metallica. Like, this is cool, So it is nice to have people that are passionate about that. Like, Metallica, who's that? I don't care. I'm not a musician, right? Yeah. Like, it's more to them than just I'm putting something in a box and shipping it out.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah. And these days with the decreasing amount of jobs available in the music industry, if you can actually work in a field you love, that's huge.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun for sure.
Do they ever get together and do little band projects and come in and use the studio?
They do, yeah.
Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we did a company party too as a talent show. We just went into the studio and said, all right, pick up a guitar. Let's, or whoever plays, let's hear it. I think my favorite was one of our employees sang Holy Diver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Dio.
Yeah,
Well,
Dio.
did he sing it well? Did he sing it
I
well?
just wasn't expecting it. He's one of the guys that tests the gear all day, and he goes, and the song starts for the talent show, and he's singing Holy Diver, and he's doing like these, arms. I'm just like, yeah, this is fun. This is cool.
I love Dio. I went to the Heaven and Hell tour, the last tour he did. Did you go to see any of those
With
shows?
Black Sabbath?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, no, but it's a great album.
Yeah.
Without Ozzy, but it's great. Yeah.
Oh, I have no problem. Those two albums, Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, two of my favorite Black Sabbath records. I'm an Ozzy fan, don't get me wrong, but those records are great.
Yeah, I remember I picked
Neon
up.
Nights. Oh,
Yeah, Dio, you can't. That voice is so good.
Yeah.
Have an autographed Bon Jovi poster.
No, that's a
here.
joke actually. So, yeah, like so Larry works
You're
here.
my best fan. Believed in me. You always.
Yeah, it's you
BJ.
always believed in me, Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Is that a?
I'm sorry.
Is that a?
Okay, so this is really the band,
Okay.
and what it was is this guy here. His name's Larry. He always wears a bandana every day. The bandana matches his shirt, so if he's wearing a gray shirt, it's a gray bandana.
Nice.
He drives
coordinate.
He drives a motorcycle, and he's just one of those guys that like you see him, and it's like you like AC/DC and you like 80s rock. You don't even have to tell me. I can tell you're one of those guys. So we got some KRK speakers in here, and he's always jamming the 80s rock. And so there just kind of became this joke that, like, your favorite band's Bon Jovi, isn't it? Even though it's not,
Yeah.
And then he just like, no, I don't actually like Bon Jovi that much. So I got this for him as a joke. For it.
I wore the cassette out in my Mustang, man. Yeah,
Look
slippery
at you,
when wet.
Mustang.
Slippery when wet.
Yeah.
Oh, it was an
Bruce
old
Fairbairn.
Mustang too.
Yeah.
But man, I ran that thing over and over and over. Yeah. When I turned 16, that was one of the couple that I never took out of the car. Yeah.
It's
Fun stuff. Is there an executive washroom?
There is no executive
No
washroom.
executive washroom?
I keep hearing about these rooms. Like, am I missing out?
That's always what I want to see when I go to, big
You want to
successful
see your
business.
executive washroom?
Yeah, we're big fans of tongue saw. I mean, modern tubes are interesting because modern tubes are never going to have the same kind of color of vintage, like NOS tube from the 70s or 60s or 50s is going to sound like. But in some ways, some brands of tubes have actually improved from a linearity standpoint. So like Tongue Saw is a great brand where if you're like, let's say you had a mastering piece of gear that's tube, and you're like, I don't really want it to color. I want it to do what it does and have tubes, but not like add a lot of fuzz and dirt. Tongue Saw is a great brand for that, and they're a modern tube. And we don't have the luxury of buying new old stock tubes because we're making mics in the thousands. And so Tongue Saw is a big brand that we support. We do use some Electro-Harmonics, some JJ as well. But yeah, these are all the spare parts. If somebody drops a mic, smashes a head basket, it's pretty easy to send them off another head basket. But we take support very, very seriously. We don't want people having gear that they can't have serviced and fixed up quickly if they.
I talk. That's super important. I talk about this all the time with stuff I recommend. We're talking about it in the masterclass. We did our Q&A yesterday at the end of the day, where sometimes in a certain price point, there's actually quite a few things that are quite competitive. And the differentiator is how the customer is treated by that manufacturer. And I was wearing these headphones and I was loving them. We're a German brand. I'm not going to say who it is. Things that's going to be public. And when they went wrong, they told me to send them to a distributor I was talking about earlier. And I had two pairs, and both broke. One came back working, the other one came back wired out of phase. And they fought me on it. They're like, it's not wired out of phase. You don't know what you're hearing. And it was Eric who was writing to them. So I dropped in on the email and said, trust me, I know what out of phase is. When I don't have a center, it's out of phase. And the guy, the distributor, wrote back to me, he's like, ship them back, you pay for it. If they are wired out of phase, we will reimburse you the shipping costs. And I never bothered. I just called the German company and said, I'm no longer wearing your headphones in any videos ever again, because I can't recommend something that this is how you treat your customers. You know, it's just as simple as that. So this stuff, the support, the back end is the most important thing, because you can make the best product in the world, but if you can't look after the customer.
Yeah. Well, and stuff happens, man. Tubes are the number one thing. I mean, tubes don't last forever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we really pride ourselves in just being available. Like that's one thing too. Like, so, you know, sometimes somebody will call and be like, man, I got this and something's not working right. And they're like getting worked up. And it's like, dude, we're going to take care of it, bro.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why are you getting worked up? Well, because other companies like don't take care of me. It's like, well, like, you know, and so it's that anxiety of like, will the company take care of me? It's like, ooh, we don't want people to feel that. I just thought of a story. One of our transformers that's in our 73 series. So this is a Carnhill transformer.
Yeah, I recognize
the Carnhill logo on it.
Yeah.
So obviously when we came out with 73 style mic pre's in 2018, we were the first to do, you know, fully discrete 73 style mic pre's with Carnhill transformers, all the legit components at the price points we were doing it. It was just kind of like, whoa, is this possible? Yeah. So obviously other people that made Neve style mic pre's weren't super thrilled about it. And they're like, oh, this competition. So this rumor started going around that, well, Warm Audio's Carnhills are made in China.
Right.
And I was like, what? Like, you know, what's going on? So I called Carnhill and I'm like, do you have a factory in China? Like, these sound great. So I don't know where you're making them, but no, we only make them in the UK. So I finally went out to the UK just this year, visited their shop, and I said, show me my transformers on the production line. And I took all these photos so I could dispel the rumor. But yeah, they're only made in the UK. They have the heritage of the Neve style, or the Neve
Well,
Neve sound.
it's the same factory. It's St. Ives, isn't it? It's just a different name.
So yeah, St. Ives was acquired by Carnhill, and they now have that legacy.
Same
under their
recipe.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same everything. It's the same machines.
Yeah.
They just changed the name of the company.
Yeah. The only thing, some of them are made with posts on the top. So instead of these wires, they have the wires go to a post, and then you solder to the post. We said, we'd rather just have the wires. It's easier. So that was our little customization. But it's the same, you know.
And transformers, anything Neve is really super important, because that was where Rupert came from. He was a transformer designer.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
You know, he designed the transformers. He worked for Partridge. And Partridge transformers, that's what's in high watt amplifiers. And everybody considered those to be like the pinnacle of British amplifiers post-war. What they did is they hired all of the women that were working building electronics during the war effort while the men were fighting. And so if you open up like a 50s, 60s kind of high watt amp, it's all point to point, and all of the wiring is like perfectly military spec, laid out like it's just a work of art. So those transformers were designed by Rupert, made by Rupert in the Partridge transformers. Also went into Laney's as well, like the early Laney's that Tony Iommi made and used in Black Sabbath and everything. So it's all about the transformers.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
That's a lot of metal right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's you know, a couple of Cinemags that we have, you know, so Cinemag similar. Theirs is a little bit bigger for this product, but
The British one's more like the workhorse, and the Cinemag's nice and pretty. Much,
yeah. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, this is a classic thing. They would, so they put epoxy on the metal so that it doesn't rust over time. And so the way that Carnhill did it is they'd put some epoxy on here and then put it in an oven, and it would kind of melt over it.
Oh,
so
that look.
Yeah, that became their look, this red color. Yeah.
Yeah.
The very first 73 style mic pre that I used was a guy that hand built them online, and it sounded unbelievable. And as I got talking to him, I realized he was actually purchasing Vintex and replacing the transformers with his. And his were Carnhill, Vintex were Carnhill. I'm like, why are you replacing Carnhill transformers with Carnhill transformers? And he said, well, mine are the proper Mariner spec. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, I've reverse engineered Mariner radar, the late 60s Neve console transformers, and I'm using that spec, and they just sound better than what is off the shelf today. And I said, is this real? So I did a little bit of research. This was back in like probably 2008, 2009. He eventually stopped purchasing those from Carnhill, and I approached Carnhill and said, can I buy those special ones?
I see.
So ours are not identical to the off-the-shelf models that everyone that's making 73 style preamps are using. I think ours actually sound closer. And I asked Carnhill, I said, what's different? Because I'm not an electrical engineer. Like, what's different? He's like, well, the gap in the core is larger. The laminations are a little thicker. The wire's thicker. The wire's round and reverse. Like, everything was different about the construction. They're like, electrically, on a schematic, it does the same thing. But the construction materials and the way it's put together is different. I said, okay, so what's the result? And they go, well, most people that hear the one that you're getting, they like it a little bit better. I was like, even they're admitting that. I don't know how much of this should be on camera, but
No.
that was pretty cool. So, people ask, well, how close is yours compared to these other brands that are more expensive? And I'm like, I think it's actually closer. And I know it sounds crazy because of the price point, but just listen to it. And most people that listen to it, we did a shootout actually when we first released them. We said samples A, B, C, and D, and they were different brands. And ours, no joke, ours got 70% of the vote as the one people liked. And then as soon as we announced, well, this one is the warm audio one, all of a sudden all the votes started changing to the more expensive brand, if that makes sense, right? Because people hear with their eyes. But that was pretty cool when we first launched it. Nobody knew. And we're getting all the votes. And I'm like, people think ours sound better than this $2,000 product, whatever. And of course, it started changing once they knew the result. Because it's hard to admit that, right? Like, the one that's a third the price, I think maybe sounds a little better. So.
Well, it's a little bit like the whole, talking about the tube inside of the Neumann. We can get into the whole New Vista VF14, was it EF, whatever, all these different things. Neumann, you go to their site, they'll tell you it passes current exactly the same way. So as far as they're concerned, whether you've got the original or not the original, nothing changes in their mind. It is exactly the same. But everybody will tell you if you don't have the original one, then it's not a real U47.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yet, as we said, the thing about that is with that polyurethane capsule, they deteriorated so badly that, we were talking about, you put 5 microphones up with different deteriorations. They might as well be 5 completely different manufacturers.
Sure.
So there's so many other things that are far more important than getting hung up on like,
Yeah.
But that's what people do, We all do. I mean,
yeah, we're chasing that legacy, that sound that we think we heard on a record at a certain time in a certain place. And that's part of the, I get it. It's part of the excitement, right? Like, I want to sound like Bon Jovi. Like Bon Jovi.
Yeah, I don't mind the nostalgia and the romanticism of it. Yeah. I mean, it's like, being in LA, we track most of the record at our studio. But if we can go to Sunset Sound for 2 days and do the basics and get drums and bass down on 5 songs, it's great. They're like, oh my God, the Stones did what here? Wow, Zeppelin did that? Oh, Van Halen did. Yeah, I mean,
it's a thing. It's inspiration. Oh. The mindset, hallowed ground.
I don't know if I'd perform better knowing that or if I'd be intimidated and perform worse.
But either way, if you're using a mic pre that you read was the Jimmy Page, you plug into the front of a 73 and crank it up and distort it and get that Jimmy Page, direct DI'd,
Yeah.
You're going to feel a lot better about it than putting it in the front of your Focusrite 2i2.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, let me show you guys the upstairs.
Yeah,
next.
please, yeah.
And not a ton to show you up there. It's mainly office space, but I've got a cool little room that is kind of fun.
Oh, we're going to see the secret room, the private room.
Yeah,
all right.
Private. Mainly office space up here. We have a lot of remote and home employees now, so it's actually not as utilized as it used to be. There's 1, 2, 3.
Did you build this building?
Yes. Yep.
From scratch?
From scratch. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
When?
Let's see, we finished it in 2020, January of 2020.
Yeah. Where were you before?
Just some rented warehouse. Yeah, so we didn't have a studio. We didn't really have much office space. We built some small offices in there. So.
About 15 minutes from here, is that right?
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes from here.
You finished it just before the pandemic?
The pandemic started when we were like 6 months from completion. So I'm sorry, January 2021 is when we moved in.
Okay.
So my mistake on that.
So it slowed everything down a bit?
Yeah, slowed everything down, and building something stressful, but then pandemic hits, and it was weird. But luckily we started before, because costs of materials started going
That was good about that, yeah.
in like later 2021, and we were done basically right as that all happened. So
Lucky.
Yeah, very.
And did you have a lot of
very
stock?
lucky. We luckily carry typically 3 to 6 months of stock of most products at any time. So we were in a good position, but it was rough staying in stock. It was hard, and cost went up, and we're a cost brand, so we didn't increase prices much, actually at all, for a couple of years, and then we just barely hiked some of them up a little bit, but we just keep moving along. That's what we do. Is they've got to be aggressive prices. That table was a beast. It came in through that window.
Oh, wow.
So this is an 18-foot long table.
Check this out, Max.
One solid
this.
piece of wood.
Wow.
Yep. And we weren't sure how we were going to get
I
it
can
in.
see Joe at the end here. Yeah. Joe sitting down at the end here. I need results.
I call this meeting to order. This scene, I think of the movie Elf, and the rider down here and Buddy the elf down here and running across the table.
That was hilarious. Oh, man. Yeah, so this table will never leave this building.
Well, no,
It's here to stay. It ain't going anywhere because we can't really get it out of here.
It'd take a lot of sawing to get it out of this building. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Is it locally sourced wood?
Yes, I believe so. It was just a local carpenter that put it together. It's a pecan wood.
That's really pretty.
Yeah, it is.
Good job.
I like it. Makes me want to get a custom table with my name in the middle of it.
And so if you've ever wanted to know what the president of Warm Audio does, I just sit here all day and I just stare at these cameras.
Oh, you total
I just go,
control.
who's recording
What's
in
he
the
doing?
studio today?
What's he doing?
Oh, is he working hard enough in the warehouse? People, it's funny because I have this up, but I hardly look at it. And when people come in here, they go, oh, he's just staring at me all day.
Man, so you didn't buy a ticket to the master class, and you could still watch.
Oh,
That's
I cheated.
not fair.
I owe you money.
You
I owe
owe
you money. Yeah.
Yeah, he was sitting there right there watching this. I feel so.
I mean, we got to have something in case in case Joe Carroll tries to sneak some microphones out.
Some more.
Yeah.
Some more mic.
stuff.
Yeah.
He's already got enough.
More. Yeah. Yeah, so this is my office. We hold some meetings in here. I do a lot of, mostly email, but I have a little R&D room here that I need to actually make this room better. It's turned into kind of a junk room, but it's my little studio space where I can test stuff out, solder stuff, get messy. That's a hand-built amp.
I was about to say, I don't see a logo on it.
Yeah, you can take it if you want. It's all right. Yeah.
Did you make it?
No, I didn't. I bought it from another guy that built it, and it's okay. I think he did an okay job.
So is it not very true to the Blues Junior thing?
It doesn't feel like it, but it was worth a shot. I thought I'd check it out.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, this I had set up, and then I kind of took it apart. I have my RME. I'm an RME fan. I like Lynx too, as you saw that in the studio, but I need to get that all repatched again. But that's just kind of fun when I'm testing out maybe a new microphone circuit in this room. As you can hear, I got to turn down the
Yeah, the events.
You guys familiar with this?
Yeah.
These speakers?
Yeah.
These are special. Like if you don't have, $8,000-$10,000 to spend on a pair of speakers, I think this is one of your best options. And on the used market, you can get a pair for about $2,000. Yeah. My only gripe about them, and I think part of the reason why they sound so good is, to my understanding, they're all analog. There's no DSP. So it's kind of the same, belief system as ATC. My only slight gripe is because they wanted to be all analog, the EQ on the front is also analog, and these switches over time oxidize, so you get popping and sometimes and stuff like that. So I need to go in and clean out my switches. But yeah, this was a real cool model that they released. They sound quite good.
So on this desk right here in front of us, is this where you kind of design new products and tinker with them? And
that's the plan for this room. I end up doing a lot of that in there at my desk, but I want to set up this room to where it's more of like my little studio haven where I can test things out. But yes, I do desolder, take things apart.
What is this? Is this kind of a Dumble?
That's a Dumble style amp that I was just kind of checking out. I was kind of curious like how it was built. I have no idea why I was curious, but I was just curious. So I started taking it apart.
I don't know. If you can build a Dumble at a fraction of the cost, that would be a pretty big business.
It's kind of fun, right? Yeah. So it's I was just curious. I was like, what goes into these things? Because
I have a friend who spent $110,000 on a Dumble.
oh my Lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go from
That's crazy.
70 plus. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard. Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like this is a $4,000 Dumble recreation. It's by Amplified Nation, and what was really interesting to me is some of these transformers on here are like $5 cheap transformers.
Yeah.
Which I was like, huh. So now these guys are very expensive.
Oh, sure.
And these are Hammond brand. So yeah, I'm just kind of poking around, getting an idea of what goes into a high-end amp.
That was always sort of the mystery, wasn't it? That people would say that he'd go down to Radio Shack and buy off-the-shelf cheap components and then magically customize the amp for you for the way you heard it. I've heard that from like 5 different owners of Dumbles. You ever ask them about why, and they'll tell you the story how it's customized for voiced for them is what I hear a lot. I'm not trying to. I don't.
I've
know.
heard that too. I mean, it could very well be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does mean that ultimately they're not expensive components, particularly.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a good output transformer, good power transformer, a lot of the other stuff, the tubes and the passive components are pretty simple things. I mean, sure, these are better capacitors than the cheapest of the cheap, but these aren't like $1 million capacitors. I mean, these are, okay, this might be a couple bucks instead of a 20-cent capacitor. So, yeah, the majority of your cost is the tubes and these two big bad boys.
And probably the chassis. That's the actual piece of.
Yeah, chassis and the wood cabinet.
Yeah, those can end up. Yeah. I know that was with the 1176 when my friend Michael gets his students to build them. Most of the cost is building the chassis and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are these here?
Those are just some experiments I'm playing with. We'll leave those alone for now. Just kind of messing around.
The ribbons, Michael.
This is fun. So here's my original Klon. In case
Was that the first one you made?
No, so that's the original brand.
Oh,
Those
nice.
are that's a $4,000 Klon.
Yeah.
There you go.
I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah, but
We've joked around with.
honey, we're gonna.
I'll finish the interview. You go on that. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else kind of fun in here.
No, is there a chance you're going to release a...
So this was kind of fun. We were like, what if we made a WA87 in just a C3PO, just total blinging gold? What would it look like? So we just built one just to kind of see what it would look like.
Man, what if
What do you think? You think people would buy
What if
that?
you call that the WAWH, and it was the Warren Hewitt edition, man?
Oh, yeah.
Might have been more working class, but yeah. So Bryce, thanks for showing us around.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Can you give me give us a little bit of your background?
Me with Warm Audio, really, I was a kid that loved music, like us all. Listened to a lot of classic rock, collected vinyl, was in a band, recorded in a budget studio in my hometown of Madison, Wisconsin, where I grew up, and just wasn't happy with the recording. It was weird how I thought I'd go into this budget studio, spend $1,000, and have like a 12-track album that would sound as good as like a Led Zeppelin album. Like I just really thought that's what would happen.
Well, when we were kids, I think we've talked about this, but when we were kids, there was like, you had like a home studio equipment, which you're saying was ADATs for you?
So the studios I would record in was ADAT. My first recorder was one of those Roland 8-track digital recorders.
Oh, the VSA 80s?
Yeah, so my band recorded, the quality wasn't good. And if you've only listened to like really great recordings your whole life, you didn't realize like bad recordings exist. And then I was like, oh, this sounds bad. Like, that's, I was just kind of shocked. So we went to another studio in town, obviously young kids, not a lot of budget. Sounded bad again. So I was like, I got to learn how to record myself. And so I bought that Roland 8-track. Then soon after bought one of those Tascam US 428 USB interfaces with faders on it, this was late 90s. And started recording, did as best I could, realized I still wasn't getting pro quality sound. And then went into a studio one day that was in a music store and got a job there and recorded through an Avalon 737. I plugged my $199 condenser mic, Chinese condenser, into this Avalon.
mic?
It was a Studio Projects mic.
Oh, okay,
Remember that brand?
Yeah.
And was like, whoa, this Studio Project sounds completely different through this preamp, through the 737. And so kind of set me in a motion of being obsessed with preamps. And purchased a Neve style and an API style preamp from a guy that hand-built pre's. Absolutely loved them and just kind of became obsessed, wanted to start building my own. a lot of people don't know this, but there's this Yamaha series of analog consoles that were released in the 70s that are based on API.
Yeah.
So they have discrete op amps, input and output transformers. And right around this time, you could get one of these, like a 24, 32 channel mixing desk with like fully discrete transformer balance. I mean, it's not as good as the real thing, but for like $300. So I bought one and started pulling the discrete op amps out in the transformers and building mic pre's and selling them. And then started upgrading the transformers to Jensen, then moved to Cinemag. And it was very time consuming. I mean, I don't know manufacturing, so I was like, let me cut a wire. Let me solder this wire from here to here, because that's what I saw on this schematic or this example. So it was, the builds inside looked messy, wires everywhere, just ugly, but they sounded good. And sold about 10 of those online on eBay over the course of a couple of years, and then finally found a factory that could assemble using my components. Cinemag was one of the only transformer companies that would return my calls and treat me like a serious customer, because they're like, oh, this is some kid modding in his apartment, like, I'm not gonna talk to him. And all of a sudden I go from like, Cinemag treats me respectfully, and now we're their largest customer by a lot. Awesome. So it's kind of a cool story.
We were talking about that in our Q&A.
Yeah.
It's like, when you actually deal with real people, they always give you the respect. It's weird, like, somebody who's like middling can have massive egos, but people that actually do this for a living will treat everybody with respect, because they've learned the hard way that you don't know where your business is going to come from. Mm-hmm. I mean, who wants to treat an assistant so bad that the next time you're the engineer for him and he's the producer? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is not a business to be to let your ego run wild. So
yeah.
So that's good. That's great that they actually took you seriously and now you're their biggest customer.
Yeah, and I had a sales background, which really helped me. So I did a B2B sales. My first sales job was working at a T-Mobile kiosk in college, and just having to train your brain to like, how do I talk about this in a way where somebody might want to buy it from me? Then when I was making preamps, I had to convince a distributor to want to buy it from me. And having some of that sales experience, I did a lot of phone sales for years. So I called up somebody in New York, and he sounded like kind of, like a tough businessman. And I had to convince this guy over the phone to send me money and buy preamps. And so I had some lucky things in my life, or experiences that sort of set me up to be ready. But I've also been very blessed to find really cool people along the way. I mean, Joe doesn't work for me, but he's kind of one of those guys. He called me when I was a one-person company. I believe this was around 2014, probably. I was working out of my house, just kind of getting this going, and became a friend. And then Joe started doing lots of videos and workshops with us years ago. I've just had great people that have believed in what we're doing, go and champion the product and tell their friends about it. And so, been very blessed in that regard. So
It's sure exploded since then.
Yeah, we've been. Yeah, it's cool. I've got some great teammates, and they all want to they all just love the mission. They're like, this stuff's good. I believe in it. It's great. Oh my gosh, Metallica bought microphones. Dolly Parton was using our 251. Oh my goodness, our mic showed up in a Drake video. Like, we thought, hey, this would be cool if one day a couple people used this in their bedrooms. Right? And then it's turned to just something we never expected. But we also work really hard. That's one of my things, is you have to work hard. You have to work harder than the next guy. And we're in a fun industry, but you can't just always have fun. Like, you got to show up, put in your hours every day. I'm here every day. I mean, not every day, 5 days a week. And that contributes a lot to success. I know both of you run your own businesses, and I'm sure you know that too.
Well, hours, yeah.
That there's that temptation probably at some point to say, "Oh, I run my own business. I'm going to take it easy because I can." But I've never felt that way. I've always felt like the second I take it easy, we'll stop being successful. So just
when you launched your 73, any product in your product line, from the day you decided I want to do that, and you started really taking it seriously until the time that you're like, we have a prototype that we're going to move forward with. Now we're going to have inventory. We're going to announce it to the world. How long is it generally on your desk before it hits the internet that it's now available or shipping soon kind of thing?
The idea is at least a year before. Then then you got a prototype. Then you usually have a second or third round prototype that looks better, has some circuit tweaks. But by the time you've got the prototype finished and it's done, it's like, okay, let's put this into manufacturing. Usually looking at 4 to 6 months before the public will hear about it, before it's launched. But you're looking at all in the process is at least a year and sometimes longer, because it starts out as an idea and then prototype 1, ooh, don't like this, let's change that. Let's move this switch here, those kinds of conversations.
So there's not much time when product WA2A was released, there's not much time to celebrate that victory lap, because there's you got months to go before product number next can come out.
Yeah, you're always working on the next thing. And that's also just like, Warren was saying with all these businesses, and I'm kind of wired that way where I just feel like I always have to be pushing forward or I'm falling backwards. Okay, I could only afford budget gear when I got into recording. And so even though a lot of the gear I was buying was, you could say, cheap, to me, it didn't feel cheap. Like a $400 microphone, some might say that's a cheap microphone. Well, to me, I didn't feel like that was chump change. I felt like I'm giving you $400.
Sure.
I'd expect something great in return. And, if you're going to advertise this microphone as being super warm and vintage and beautiful sounding, I better get a super warm, vintage, beautiful sounding microphone. And I felt like so much of what I was being sold was marketing hype.
Sure.
And that's one thing that I noticed about the industry when I first got into it, is it felt like there was lots of hype. It was a lot of like, let's make a product, or companies that would do this, let's make a product, doesn't really matter how good it is, go sell the crap out of it. And people would buy it, people resell half of what they buy because it wasn't that good. And I had the experience of I got to the point where I felt like I was getting ripped off because I bought $200 interface, then a $500 interface, then a $1,000 interface, and felt like it didn't really get better. In some cases, got worse. So, anyways, to get to my point here is, I think when I started getting feedback from customers that, Bryce, I bought this thinking it would be okay, or somewhat decent, or kind of at the level I would like to get to, but I can't afford to, but you exceeded my expectation. I wasn't let down at all. I was actually, surprised. And that's sort of when I was like, wow, now that's a difference. I don't care if you're famous or if actually, I'd rather have you not be. I'd rather have this be the only piece of gear you could afford and you're thrilled that you bought it. That's when I was like, that's cool, because I felt like this industry was just so marketing hype and so let's push whatever we can, especially to the budget people. I'm sure all the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 microphones and preamps all sound great. And if you have that kind of money, you were never let down because you were just buying great stuff. But, the working musicians can't afford it. So, yeah, I'd say for me that moment of was like when I started getting those emails in. And I bought this and never heard of you, but this thing's great. Like, how'd you do it? Thanks so much. And getting thanked. I'm like, no, thank you for buying it, but they're thanking me. And that was a pretty cool feeling. Yeah. Guys, this has been super cool. Warren, first of all, getting to know you. Haven't really, we met a couple times at NAMM, so just spending some time with you. Super cool, great stories. And thanks for coming out to Warm Audio and holding the masterclass, holding the Q&A, which we offered, free of charge to anybody that wanted to come by and check it out. Really, really fun, to spend this time with you guys.
I had a great time.
There was some pretty freaking amazing people there.
There were some great questions. Yeah. You can tell by the questions how serious somebody is about. We had some people in there that were serious musicians and engineers and producers. That's always fun to talk to people.
Yeah, when the kids I worked with Ben Queller and I made his last couple. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's great. So thanks for allowing a loudmouth like me to come down and hang a little, right?
You guys are welcome anytime, and
Well, don't say that because we'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah. Awesome. But yeah, no, I love what you guys are doing. I mean, Produce Like a Pro. I like that name because it's sort of saying that hey, we want to help you. Yeah. It's everybody's got the dream, right? You're saying, hey, let's help you. Let's give you the information to live that dream. So
in a way, warm audio and Produce Like a Pro are kind of synergistic in what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and to me, it's all about the recording. And, I can sacrifice external gear when it comes to mixing. I still like breaking out and touching a few things. We talked about this. But if I have to, gun to my head, I'll mix in the box. But I'll never sacrifice the quality going in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the same.
Real tubes, real transformers.
Yeah, all those records we're sort of talking about a little bit, you just mentioned The Wall, all those records come up on the console sounding like the album. You're recording the way you want to hear it. So to me, that's where all your money, your time, your energy should be put in, how you record it, the performances you capture, how you capture them.
Yep.
Yeah. So Bryce, thanks ever so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
So much for coming. It's been a lot of fun.
Joseph, you rock.
Yeah, thank you, Warren. Back at you.
Thanks, everyone. Leave any comments and questions below. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Of course, there will be links to everything, to all the warm audio stuff that we've talked about, products, website, you name it. Thanks, everyone. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, ciao.